What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Good to see you, gang. Tuesday afternoon show, bright and early by our standards. 2:30, almost on the dot, 2:32. Couple minutes late getting started because I had to total up our home run board from yesterday. We had like 9 picks last night. Not bad. Got somebody closing in on that W. I don't know, guys. Loyalty Chisel. Third correct pick. Technically, it was a twofer. Kurtz went deep twice last night. Loyalty Chisel was all over that one. We're only counting it as the pick, so it's only one. But he's up to 3. First to 5, it takes down that free month. Cujo in second. Larry C. bringing up third. Tight board. What were the correct picks so far? Chisel hit Alonso. Cujo hit Riley Green. Larry C. hit Nick Kurtz. Cujo hit Gunner. Chisel hit Kurtz again. Or Chisel hit Kurtz. And Chisel hit Ohtani. I missed that one. That's right. You can only use Ohtani once, so Chisel can't use Ohtani again to put himself over the top here. But he's closing in. Thought this contest was going to last a little longer. I got to say, you guys are doing a good job out there. Or at least a couple of you are. No home run for Jordan last night. No home run for Junior Caminero, who were all over. I think Larry picked him. Yeah, it was a good pick, Larry. Go right back to the well with Junior today in that spot. He's pulling like an 8+ in the Fangraphs game sims. Looks pretty good in my model. I think that's a good pick again. It's a really, really interesting day. A lot of pitchers on the mound that have an impact on power. It's kind of checking down despite some ballpark situations that are very favorable for power. It's kind of wreaking havoc on some of the home run numbers. Like you can see the stacks board is pasted below the scoreboard there. And the Houston Astros pulling in at 4th by projection on both sites, 6th by value, 3rd by value from FanDuel to DraftKings, 7th best Vegas total, facing their old pal Framber Valdez. But Framber is elite at keeping the ball in the yard. 22nd by home run power on that team. You can see some similar marks. 19th for the Braves against Adrian Hauser, who does similar things. Cincinnati, even in that ballpark, if Kodai Senga is going at all right for the 5 innings we're probably going to see him, has a little bit of a potential impact on power. Drew Rasmussen taking the Dodgers down a peg. Dodgers ranked 6th today, 8th on DraftKings. So really interesting impact to some of these pitchers that we've got going on this overall board. And then you can see how much havoc it creates down the bottom. Really interestingly, as far as this power index goes, and you'll see it if you just pull up, this is the full stacks board, but if you just pull up the one that's got the 2 columns for the power, and we'll talk about it as we go through the games, both teams in the Seattle game are 2nd for the Orioles and 4th, despite being ranked 15th, 16th, 15th, 17th by DraftKings, by projections. That's not a good spot for bats. It's a super pitcher-friendly park. But both of those pitchers can give up a little bit of premium contact, and you're just seeing a total there that's floated up by a couple really, really strong home run bats on a day where some of the ones where it would be, yeah, that team's got 7 guys who are pretty good at hitting home runs versus some of these teams where it's like, yeah, 2-3 guys are super elite, and then the rest are floated up a little bit. It's a really, really interesting board that way, and this is one of those situations where, especially if Cal Raleigh's back for Seattle, just a couple big numbers are floating those averages up over the other ones, and it's entirely believable. Logan Gilbert, good as he is, does have an issue with giving up home runs here and there. So that's kind of a believable mark. But it's not a spot I think we want to go hunting because, again, Logan Gilbert really good. And the Mariners ballpark is just really conducive to good pitching games. Works against hitting. Buried all the way down the bottom, you get a little value on the Guardians, even though there's no Jose Ramirez in the lineup for the next few days or a few weeks. Jose took the dreaded hamate bone injury, so he'll be out of our lives for a little bit. But that's maybe a frisky spot with a little power showing for the Guardians hiding all the way down there. We'll talk about them as maybe a value squad when we get there, but a lot to go through. 12 games on the board. Just wanted to highlight some of that as people pile in for the show. Now that we've got a little bit of a group here, so again, there's your leaderboard for the home run picks contest. 1st to 5 wins. Loyalty Chisel in the lead with 3. A couple other people have some correct ones on the board. Still a wide open contest, though. Trust me, I know better than anybody. You can go cold for a couple of weeks at a time on home run picks. Free to enter. Leave your home run pick after the show. Come back. Leave a comment on the video. You guys have been killing it with comments lately. I love it. Really, really appreciate it. So leave your home run pick in there. I'll come back. I'll tally them all up. It's a multi-day contest. First to 5 wins. If there's a tie, there's a tie. You both get the prize, which is a free month of content at rotoscouts. You can take that month right now for baseball. You can hold it in your pocket until September or whenever you want, really. Get multiple sports out of it. As always at rotoscouts, under $1 a day accesses everything that hits that website across all 4 major sports. Get every single main slate taken care of. For baseball, we do a lot of the side slates. For football, you get every single game. A lot of deep content for baseball, a lot of deep content for football. Basketball, hockey, we focus on projections, primarily for the main slates. There's a lot going through there for under $1 a day. Rules for the contest. Got to be on the same YouTube name every time. I'm not going to track your picks across multiple screen names. I'll have them here, but we're not going to total them up. So you're only damaging yourself if you do that. 1 pick per person per day has to come from the slate discussed. You've got 24 teams to choose from today. You can't use the guy who's my pick of the day. I doubt anybody would want my pick of the day today. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. You only get 1 bite at the apple with Ohtani or Judge. I probably should have thrown Kurtz and maybe Jordan into that list as well, but take advantage. Only Ohtani and Judge are limited because I limit my own picks on them. So I use them once a year. You guys can use each one once a contest. Aaron Judge, unfortunately, still out. Not a lot of Ohtani picks on the board yet. A lot of people keeping them on reserve for a good spot, it looks like. So that's your contest. Again, come back after the show. Leave your comment. Even if you don't want to enter the contest, somebody went in and just left a thumbs up or a muscle man flex yesterday. Appreciated that comment just as much as the other ones, but you forgot to make your pick, whoever that was. Make sure you leave your picks. Unless that was your pick, in which case tell me what that pictogram was supposed to mean and I'll apply it.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
She's never sure how to help us. She listens in to the show every day and chimes in from over there from time to time, only to tell us that she doesn't know how to help us. I think you can see some of the wild nature of the slate kind of reflected there on this board, with a lot of teams coming in low 4s, mid 3s, and then several just popping into the 5s. There's not a ton of 4s on this board. I mean, there are, some tucked in over here, but this is a really spread out board. That's probably a better view of it. Take those zeros out of the mix. I got to fix that at some point. So a lot of really soft spots, a lot of spots where even the good run scoring teams a little bit impacted for power. Another weird one with the home run balls is that Pirates Athletics game in the launching pad out in Sutter that has an 11 run total. Both teams well over 5. The Athletics, the obvious guys, pulling their power numbers, but when you look at the full numbers for the team as they average out, they were 4th on the power board, I think. They're the top ranked stack, 5th by home run upside. The Pirates, a few spots later, are actually 3rd by home run upside. They're going up against Jack Perkins. Part of the impact for the Athletics is Mitch Keller has never been totally vulnerable to the home run ball. As erratic as it can be, as much of a roller coaster as he might be, Mitch is not completely terrible for home runs. The ballpark obviously helps. Monster home run bats in that lineup, and I think that's reflected. But they're surpassed by some oddball situations. The Rangers look spectacular against Zebby Matthews, who's had a bit of an issue with power, for example. But they ranked down the board a little bit. No Corey Seager. He went on the IL again with a concussion. Say hi to some people as we get started, though. We'll jump back to the runs board and we'll do the full rundown here. Cujo's here. Travis Wyndham making an appearance. Good to see you, buddy. Tall Tale, Clintwood, Pirates Baseball. What's going on, everybody? Pirates losing O'Neal Cruz, man. It's killing me. Killing me. Although my guy Cole Carrick from the Rockies, who I spent a pretty penny on from Fab budget to cover that gap, hit a home run. Is 3rd, I think, in the show already. Guy from the Rockies. We talked about him yesterday. What does ownership come off at among Rockies players? Anybody look? It's an interesting piece. Kid's got some realistic power, realistic speed. Let me undo that. So again, that just, that's what your real conditional formatting here looks like. But let me put those zeros back in. Yeah, PCA hit for the cycle. PCA up to, I believe, 2nd among qualified hitters in Fangraphs WAR. I just noticed that because that's how the stats table that I pop in for the show dashboards is organized by Fangraphs WAR, just by default. You can say PCA right in between Bobby Witt and Jordan Alvarez. monster surge over the last 200 and change plate appearances for PCA. We've talked about it. Anyway, yeah, and hit for the cycle. Crazy. Random CLR calling out for the Canes fans to stand up, go nuts. Congrats on your cup. I'm more interested in Knicks fans celebrating our title, but hey, congrats. Don't want to take anything away from the Canes, even though I'm not a fan of that pesky organization. I was talking about it with a friend fairly recently during this playoff run. I was like, yeah, the Canes don't get credit for just being so consistently good and having that like same mold that they've had for years, where they're just this physical, tough team to beat, really, really solid team out of the East just year after year. They had a stretch that I didn't really remember as well. It was like 2010 to like 2017 or something like that, where they weren't quite as good. I was calling it like a 25-year stretch of being the same team, and it was more, 2 stints. But this recent run from like 2017 to now has been just tremendous. Really good hockey organization. Respect the Games, a Canes season ticket holder. Look at that. Got some Canes fans here. Who knew? Congrats, guys. Cujo calling out Colt Keith yesterday. Yeah, one of our guys, man. We talked about Colt Keith potentially having a breakout season toward the end of last year, just based on some of what he was doing. And, the contact wasn't exactly where we wanted it. Last year, he finished the year at 9.2, 43.7, but he's come up a little bit. We're closing in on those numbers now. 267, 311, 390, solid slash line with room to grow. That's a very good player who, as he continues to catch on, super interesting at these prices. Good lefty bat who can hit the ball hard. So no real surprises there. Nice to see the him getting it started. And he's had a few good games over the last couple of weeks. Anyway, let's get into this thing, huh? We got a lot to go through. The White Sox in town to play my New York Yankees, my diminished New York Yankees. We just got news that Jason Dominguez had a tooth pulled today and is questionable day to day. Don't really see why getting a tooth pulled. I guess maybe if you're all loopy on laughing gas or whatever, like a kid in the backseat on the ride home from the dentist, maybe that'd be Jason Dominguez's problem. But to me, if you had a tooth pulled, you should be able to play baseball that night. But whatever. 408 implied total for the Yankees. Not a great looking spot for them anyway. They're going up against Davis Martin, who's been tremendous. Garrett Cole on the mound for the Yanks. Some mixed results in his return to action, checking down the White Sox at just a 3.51 implied total. Colson Montgomery looking like a good bat out of the White Sox lineup. Still no Murakami in an ongoing sense. Dramatic diminishment to the quality of that offense, but still, Yankee Stadium plays favorably for some lefty power. We've got some interesting names to talk through there. Garrett Cole in this form, a little bit more vulnerable, but just a 3.5 implied on the White Sox side. They're just kind of one of the also ran type options on this slate. The Mets pulling one of the better totals of the day, one of the top-ranked teams of the day, going up against Brady Singer in a 10-run game. They're on the strong side of that at 5.19 implied runs. They get Kodai Senga back on the mound. Senga stretched out 70-plus pitches. I think it was 75 in his most recent rehab start. Made a few down on the farm. I would expect about 5 innings if all goes to plan, but it's still not a good situation. Senga can be kind of erratic. When he's good, he's very, very good. When he's bad, he can be pretty bad. 4.91 implied total for the Reds. How about Joanny Suarez, by the way, going double-dong yesterday? Hopefully waking up a little bit to help carry the dynasty team while Judge and O'Neal Cruz and a cast of thousands are on the injured list. 4.91 implied for the Reds. They're very much on the board again. Still no Ellie for that organization, though. Giants 4.01 implied total. Well, not totally dead in the water by comparison to some of, a lot of the 3 marks that we see on the board. That team's a little bit more frisky lately. Bryce Eldridge has been on fire. Rafi Devers, they've got names, obviously, in that lineup. Matty Chapman's hit the ball squarely a little bit more frequently recently. Willie Adames and so forth. Usable squad going up against Grant Holmes. 5.10 implied, though, going back the other way for the Braves. Kind of interesting there. They're going up against Adrian Hauser. Hauser's given up a home run in each of his last 3. He's had a bit of an issue with the long ball this season. 11 home runs in 65 innings over his 13 starts. Not exactly an ideal situation, but historically he's been better at checking power, and he is having a little impact on the Braves. I like them still for sequencing. I like them for upside, so that's a very playable Atlanta spot. The Guards against the Brewers. Just a mid-3s implied total for the Guardians. They're going up against Robert Gasser. I do think maybe for value, maybe for picking off some of that power that's showing just as an oddball dart throw type of a stack here and there, the Guardians may be a little bit more on the board than that total would indicate. but it doesn't look like a good option with no Jose Ramirez in the lineup. Obviously, that's a major impact to that team's potential. Slate Ciccone going for the Guardians, pushing a little upside toward the Brewers at a mid-4s implied total. Maybe they sneak through a little bit. I'm looking at them. I'm looking at the Rangers as far as like the two maybe slightly less obvious teams, and we already saw what the Rangers' power number looks like against Zebby. So I'm kind of intrigued by both of those as just a good team to click together with some of the more, heavy air quotes, obvious spots. Brewers are very good sequencing squad, and Ciccone is a very gettable pitcher, and there is a little bit of power potential against Ciccone as well. Pods and the Cards, low-end game here. 3.96 implied for that terrible Padres team. They're going up against Andre Palante, who, if nothing else, is quite good at keeping the ball in the yard under normal circumstances. He's given up 9 homers in 13 starts this season. That's a little slight uptick, I think, from pace from previous seasons. But typically the ball's on the ground, the ball's at low trajectory and kept in the yard. He's also decent in inducing weak and medium contact. And then you've got Michael King going the other way against that interesting young Cards team. 4.13 implied. I feel like they're a little bit more usable. But King also typically pretty good at limiting power, pretty good at inducing weak and medium contact. He's run into a few home runs in his last handful of games, though. Maybe something going on that we don't know about under the surface. 2 home runs allowed in each of the last 2, and a home run allowed in each of the 2 before that. That said, pitched 6 quality innings in each of the last 3 starts. 3 earned runs, 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs over those games. Didn't really find strikeout total, and that impacts the DFS scoring, but pitched deep into the ball game, got some outs, even with some run scoring, even with some power against. Not pretty, but kind of getting by. I do think that makes him somewhat targetable with those Cardinals, though. Of course, we have the upside of Jordan Walker, who we've talked about throughout the season. Some of those key lefties in that lineup are always interesting. The Twins at the Rangers. The Twins side of that one, 405 implied total. Nothing really to write home about, but they're facing Kumar Rocker, who's not exactly an ace, who's not exactly rocketing up the pitcher board. 405 implied total. The Twins are usable here, but not crazy desirable. I think the quality is more on the Rangers side, even though we were attacking the Rangers in their home park a couple weeks ago. Circumstances change. Zebby Matthews on the mound today. Several multiple home run games so far in his 6 starts, including 3 home runs allowed to the Tigers last time out. That was a 4 strikeout, 1 walk, 3 home runs, 7 earned runs on 9 hits day over 6 innings against Detroit. Give up 2 earned runs on 5 hits over 7 innings to Kansas City, 2 strikeouts and 4 walks. Didn't allow a home run in that game, but obviously didn't pitch exactly sharp. Got away with some of it. Start before that, another 7 earned runs over 4 1/3. That was at Pittsburgh. 2 home runs allowed in that game. He did strike out 7 that day. He is a talented kid. Does have good strikeout stuff when everything's working right, but it hasn't come together perfectly for him this season. 2 home runs allowed in the game before that one to the White Sox at Chicago. So I think targetable for a little power. Wish we had Corey Seager for this one, but we've got some upside bats in the Rangers lineup, and the interesting home run pick of the day comes from the Rangers lineup. Mid-4s implied total on them, and again, I hope they come up a little sneaky with people just focused on the larger run totals. The Rockies at the Cubs, the incredibly erratic Edward Cabrera on the mound for Chicago. Ryan Feltner going back the other way for Colorado. Fire away with Cubs bats. The Rockies, it comes down to Cabrera. When he's good, he can be very good. Those starts have been very few and far between this year, though. 4.86 ERA. He does have a 3.88 xFIP under the surface. Strikeouts come and go. Walks have been pretty present. Power has been on display, especially in the most recent starts. But overall, 13 home runs allowed over 63 innings in 12 starts. That's going to damage you when you're losing a little bit to walk. So not a premium option, but that is a good target on the other side of that game. Rockies on the road is always a thing. There are strikeouts available. It could be a good ECAB day, but he also doesn't feel entirely necessary. The Tigers with Framber on the mound. Revenge game for Framber if you're into that sort of thing. 4.89 implied total, though, on the Astros side. Again, they're one of the top-ranked teams, but Framber does have the ability when he's going right to check power. This season, he's allowed 9 home runs in his 14 starts, including 2 in the last one to Minnesota. And overall, he just hasn't been peak Framber. He's had a few bumpy games along the way, a couple really ugly ones, a 7-run game and an 8-run game, one against the Twins, the other one against the Red Sox. The strikeouts have been all over the place. The walks have been all over the place. And when he's allowing just some incidental power here and there, those things can come back and burn him. So Astros bats against, at least in play, at that near 5 implied total against their old pal. Just don't necessarily think of it as a major home run spot. I think we're looking at that more for sequencing, which makes it better for correlated scoring than it necessarily does for one-offs. On the other side, the Tigers, just a 3.71 implied. They're going up against the return of Hunter Brown. Brown got out to 5 innings in the most recent rehab. I capped them at 5. I would expect 5 if everything goes well. Thank you very much. Go take a seat. Let's see if we can win the game for you, kid. 3.71 implied shows the quality, though, of Hunter Brown. Tremendous option on the mound in general for the Astros. For DFS purposes today, we're going to have to give them a hard look at price and what the cap might look like compared to some of the other options. He is there. He could come away with a decent day, but it is a definitely lower ceiling than a normal Hunter Brown start. Then we get into some of the meat here with the Pirates and the Athletics. Again, both teams above 5 implied runs. The Pirates were, I want to say, third on that home run board against Jack Perkins. Coming back the other way, the Athletics, just a little bit of potential for Mitch Keller to maybe surprise and keep the ball in the yard on his way to giving up 6 to 8 runs. 5.93 implied total. I like the looks of the Athletics even with that in mind, and the obvious home run bats are still all over the magic number. So it's not like Mitch Keller's out there, weaving some sort of spell that's going to keep the ball in the park no matter what against Nick Kurtz. Kurtz is at like an 11 something in the home run model. So the power is there for the A's. It's more the back end guys that get a little bit more limited and drag that average down slightly. So that's why it's difficult to, kind of explain around like I was trying to do at the beginning of the show. Pirates bats definitely in play as well. 5.19 implied total. So we're going bats on both sides of that one. I don't think we need any Mitch Keller. I don't think we need any Jack Perkins in that situation. Pitcher I'm really interested in, though, Reed Detmers toward the end of the night here in the desert against Arizona. That team is very, very good this year against left-handed pitching. That is working against Detmers. That is a hitter-friendly park. That's also working against Detmers. But he's been absolutely tremendous on a very good recent run of starts as well, and just has major upside. We've talked about him being way over the average in all 3 of the plus categories as far as how the pitches function. Just a good starter. So I'm interested at price, and if he doesn't come up owned, more power to him or to us or whatever. Merrill Kelly going back the other way, pushing a little power upside toward the Angels. 3 guys in that lineup above the magic number makes them one of the more unique teams for power upside. It's the 3 obvious guys. Kelly's been kind of all over the map this season, so targetable enough in a good hitter-friendly park. Mid-4s implied total on either side of that one. My hope would be that maybe we get the Angels a little bit sneaky as well, kind of in line with the Rangers, with the Brewers, and that makes them a little bit more of an option to combine in with some of the higher-end teams. Mentioned this Orioles and Mariners game. They are showing oddball upside for power in a bad ballpark for power in a super pitcher-friendly park. You can see where the Orioles come up. 3.43 implied total. They're one of the bottom-ranked teams on the board, despite that power uptick, like I showed you on the stacks board. Going up against Logan Gilbert, who can be tremendous on the season. 3.62 ERA, 3.69 xFIP, basically matching. That's just who Logan Gilbert is. But he can run into premium contact. He can run into the long ball from time to time while still giving you 6 quality innings and taking the win and pitching really well. 4.15 implied total, a little bit more meat on the bone, I think, for the Seattle Mariners going up against Brendan Young, especially if they get Cal Raleigh back in that lineup. I like the idea of Cal hitting the ground running here after a really bad start and then the injury. And then we round things off with the Rays at the Dodgers. Again, a little bit diminished on the Dodgers end. They're going up against a terrific Drew Rasmussen. 7 innings in each of his last 2 starts, shut out both the Marlins and the Red Sox. Obviously tangling with a different animal with the Dodgers here, but a very, very high-end pitcher. He's found some strikeout in his couple recent starts. Don't love him for strikeout upside. Don't love him for a DFS option, and he's knocked down a little bit from where he would be if he were facing, say, the Red Sox or Marlins today. But he's an interesting piece, and he's checking the Dodgers down a little bit. 4.42 implied total is low for them. Going the other way, Justin Wroblewski. Wroblewski, am I saying that right? Where's our native Polish speaker? We were talking about the pronunciation of some of the Polish names. Wroblewski. I said that I would try and nail the blah in the middle there. Hopefully I'm doing it right. Anyway, an effective starter, maybe pitching over his head somewhat, 2.95 ERA, but a 4.59 xFIP. Having an impact, though, on those Rays. Sub 4 implied by a wide margin. Seen a little bit of power showing for Junior. Wroblewski's given up 6 home runs in 73 1/3 over 11 starts. Been pretty good at limiting power, keeping the ball in the yard. Some of it happenstance, some of it real. We'll give them a look, but that's not really drawing the eye for the Rays at all right now at that low total. Really interesting board. It's going to be a fun one. The old unsorted pitching board here. There we go. So let's start with this. I think Hunter Brown's mispriced across both sides. Kid's tremendous. But for 5 innings against a Detroit team that sure can provide some strikeout upside for him, but is also pretty hard hitting, I don't like that spot. I really like Hunter Brown. As soon as he's stretched back out to full starts, we'll definitely be talking about him. And he made several rehabs. Again, he got out to 5 innings in the most recent one. But he didn't throw a massive amount of pitches, if memory serves, in that game. He did strike out 7. He walked 2, faced 21 hitters, gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run. 4 1/3 in the start before that one, faced only 16 hitters, kind of just blazed an efficient trail through. 3 innings, faced only 10 hitters the start before that, struck out 5 of them, but not exactly stacking up massive pitch counts. So I think we're, again, 5. Maybe he comes out for a 6, and the moment there's a base runner on, he comes in. If he's utterly fantastic through those first few innings, sure, there's additional upside for innings pitched. But 10-6 is hefty. 10,000, very expensive, the most expensive pitcher on the DraftKings board. That has an impact. I think this is a real oddball. Brendan Young benefiting somewhat from a very pitcher-friendly park, benefiting somewhat from a Mariners team that's got scuffling bats. 7,300 makes him a very easy to use SP2 from that range. 86 on FanDuel. I trust him a lot less on the FanDuel slate, my standalone SP1, but I think he's at least usable. It just comes down to a price conversation. Would I rather have a questionable spot with Brendan Young against Seattle, or say Fromber maybe in danger, but for significantly less, for 1,200 less, a pitcher that we've got a long, long history with at 74. By similar, you could say 300 more for Michael King to probably give you the exact same type of day as Brandon Young on a good Brandon Young day. For only 500 more, I could reach Garrett Cole against the White Sox. As shaky as that position might be, he projects better. He is better. Same deal with Logan Gilbert on the other side of this game. So I question Young somewhat, but that DraftKings 7,300 looks great, and he's been working deep into ball games recently. Brendan Young, in his last 4 starts, has pitched into the 7th inning in 4 straight starts. 7 last time out, 2-hitter against these Mariners. That'll work. Struck out 5, walked 2. I'll take that day today. So, proven that he can do it against this team, and now we're playing that game in a pitcher-friendly park. 6 1/3 the start before that, 3 earned runs to Toronto at Toronto, 2 earned runs over 6 2/3 against Toronto in Baltimore, the start before that one. And then 2 unearned runs over 6 2/3, no earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 6 2/3 against Detroit on May 24th. It's a very good run. He gives you 7 innings. Gets that bunch of outs, limits hits to at least some degree. Even if he gives up a couple runs, you're cruising at 73. Again, 86 is where I question it, but the quality start is obviously in play given the depth, and it is a good pitcher situation. Gilbert at the top of the board, I have no questions. 92, 93, I think the price is appropriate. I think we're just fine there. Garrett Cole is the wrinkle up top. Obviously, if Cole comes out on form, could be tremendous against that diminished White Sox team. But a little bit of danger in Yankee Stadium with some of the lefty power that's in that White Sox lineup. You do have a scuffling version of Cole. He went 6 2/3, 5 1/3 in the first 3 starts. Then only went 4 last time out. Faced 21 Guardians, allowed 5 hits. Only 2 earned runs, struck out 4, walked 2, but pitch count got up, struggling a little bit. Only struck out 2 the game before that and allowed 3 home runs. That was also against Cleveland. That was in Yankee Stadium. He went 5 1/3 that day, 4 earned runs. Obviously, not a great DFS day and not at price. And the strikeout diminishment is a little bit concerning. That came on the heels of a 10K game against Kansas City. That was the best version of Garrett Cole we've seen in his 4 outings so far back in our lives. But the upside for that day against this White Sox team is definitely there. 91, 95, I think the prices are right. 95 on DraftKings is obviously a little bit higher than I'd want to pay, but 91 on FanDuel totally works. And I think if people shy away from Garrett Cole for perceptions of one, Yankee Stadium being more of a hitter's haven than it actually does play like outside of just the home run ball, and then just the, diminished nature of those last two starts, maybe people try and go around Garrett Cole a little bit. That would make me want to use him a little bit more. 98.87 totally works for Reed Detmers. Love that DK price. I have a little bit of faith in Reed Detmers and just some of the tweaks he's made and how the arsenal's working. It's a high danger spot. Again, the Diamondbacks have been good against lefties this year, and that's just out in the desert where there's some offense lurking. But 98 works. 87 definitely on DK. King, I don't fully trust, but kind of right around these numbers is perfectly fine for Michael King. He just strikes me as a pitcher most of the time with a slightly lower ceiling than anybody truly at the top of the board. Obviously, he's got the depth to go out there and put up a complete game shutout from time to time, but I don't think we're hunting for that. And that Cardinals team pulling a 4+ implied. That also just kind of illustrates having King in that spot. Does illustrate a little bit the somewhat shallow nature, despite a long list, kind of a shallow nature of this slate. You can see where Drew Rasmussen's at, by the way. As mentioned, the Dodgers do have an impact on him, much as he has an impact on them in the other direction. 88, I think, is just fine on DraftKings. If you feel like tangling with the Dodgers, go for it. 10-4 on FanDuel, that feels dicey. Rasmussen's easily good enough to go out, have a very strong 7-inning start with a handful of strikeouts for your money there. But the number of times that he's able to do it, if you roll this 100 times, I'm not sure is commensurate with that 10-4 price tag. And obviously, just a couple runs against damages you badly at that price point. Wroblewski, a couple spots above that, though. 93-83 against a gettable version of the Rays. Check down mid-threes implied. Why not? He's been pitching well, getting away with some stuff. Not a premium strikeout option. The 93 feels a little bumpy on FanDuel, but the 83 is an SP2 option. Definitely works on DK. Zebby's in a lot of trouble. If he finds the strikeout form, though, those are not incorrect projections. Just know that Zebby comes with a pretty healthy basement that you can see in where the Rangers are projected, what their power numbers against look like. 88,000, reasonable to mix in as an SP2 on DK. Just put him in the mix with Fromber and Wroblewski up here. Obviously, 7,300 on Brandon Young up there. Definitely is in that mix. I'd say Grant Holmes for 75 is a contender for some of those shares. Probably I'd rather have Grant Holmes at the 75 than ECAB at 85 even against Colorado. Just no faith in Cabrera against anybody. 88 for Rasmussen is a big question mark for 1,300 more than Grant Holmes against San Francisco, even though San Francisco's playing better. You get a few okay bargain bin options. I would play Merrill Kelly at 6,900 on DraftKings. There are strikeouts there in the Angels lineup. When he's going right, he's a good, not great pitcher. 4-run type guy. We saw him put up a solid year throughout last year. Ups and downs throughout this year, but that is the right price for what he's been going through. But again, there is power showing on the Angels side. No faith at all in Kumar Rocker, but he projects out slightly better than the rest of the bargain bin. And then as we go down the board here, Palante, good run limiter, but the price is a little bit high compared to the other bargain bin guys. So I don't know how much you're really buying and selling back and forth between those prices. On FanDuel, it just feels like a tough spot. He's going up against the lowest end offense in baseball, likely to keep the ball in the yard. Pretty good shot at giving you even the 6 innings, the quality start. But when I can get Brandon Young, who projects out better for 100 less, when I can get Garrett Cole for 400 more, Michael King for 200 more, Zebby, if you want to take your life in your hands at 88. There are other options that are just higher end strikeout potential and so forth than Palante. But Palante's effective. Senga in that Reds ballpark with probably a 5-inning cap in his first start back. Just too much danger working against there at 72, 76. I don't see it. I don't think we've got enough meat on the bone. Ciccone, 79, 71, probably in trouble against that high-quality Brewer sequencing lineup. Robert Gasser feels like a no against the guards at 55. Hasn't been that good. Keller in that ballpark against the Athletics. Again, maybe has the opportunity to limit power slightly more than you would expect. But a near 6-run implied total against is a big warning sign. And then everybody else projected below 10 DK points, below 20 FanDuel points. Not a lot of usability down toward the bottom. I don't really want Singer against the Mets, Perkins against the Pirates, Feltner against the Cubs is a huge no. And then Adrian Hauser, I don't think so at 53. That's awfully cheap once you get down there, but it's not really a day given how many just options there are up and down. It's not really a day where I can truly say like, yeah, Hauser for 53, that's so cheap that he doesn't even need to have a good day because you got several guys that are likely to have pretty good days. Joker's here to say hi as we wrap up the pitching board. See if anything's going on in chat. Greg Biancone's a little bit late. Clement says, my road to the show player pitched a one-hitter versus the Dodgers last night on Xbox. Complete game. Solid. Not a bad outing by you. Were you throwing that game or was it simmed? Wait, Xbox? PlayStation, right? Isn't the show PlayStation exclusive? I believe what you're saying, Clement. Just think you named the wrong video game console. Meach says, I think Dumper should be back today. Yeah, that was the call, was that he was going to be back today. Yeah, Meach, it's a lot of that with the Brandon Young projection there. For one, he's up the board, but you got to keep in mind there's a lot of lower end guys that are falling below him, right? So there's just it just happens that there's not a lot of guys clipping past 30 today outside of those obvious guys up at the very top. And I think a little bit of the depth we've seen is pushing that up a little bit. The ballpark helps him a lot, and just the opponent is pushing him up a little bit. So I'm kind of on board, let's say. I'm going to stop short of believer, but I'm on board. He's been pitching well. Show's on both now. All right. I didn't realize that they had gone multi-console. That's awesome. Good for them. This is the right idea. Still made by Sony. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's get into the game by game. When I hit the lineups button, if you guys haven't already, hit the like button down below the thing here. Subscribe to the channel if you're feeling it. Hit the notification bell if you want them. That's up to you. I'd appreciate the subscriptions. Check out rotoscouts.com, rotoscouts.com. I forgot to take down the free weeks note. If you can get one, I didn't check today whether there were any left. We were down to bare bones yesterday when I was talking about it, but promo code for the free week, Cubs win, all one word, capital C, capital W. If there's any left, that gets your free first week on a weekly. No promises, but check that out to get a free week. Enter the ongoing home run picks contest by leaving your home run pick of the day in comments after the show. We'll talk about the rules. I did them at the beginning of the show. We'll go back into them in just a little bit. They're scrolling across the bottom of your screen as well. But let's get some game by game going. Chicago with the two big Monties in the middle of the lineup. Some lefty under there. Braden's a switch hitter. Colson hitting from the left side. Colson's got 17 on the board already. Braden hit his first home run in walk-off fashion last week. 20 plate appearances, pretty effective so far. 124 WRC plus in the teeny tiny sample. What I'm kind of interested in, though, is from the left side, the fact that he's made some pretty premium contact so far in the show. Obviously, these are extreme small sample numbers, but it works in nicely around the edges with the guys who have been hitting the ball hard all year for this team. And that could impact Garrett Cole a little bit. He's a fly ball trajectory pitcher. You get a lefty who's just able to strike the ball with some bit of authority and put the ball in the air in Yankee Stadium, could get in those right field seats pretty easily. Cole allowing just a 4.7% barrel over his limited action so far this year, but a 22.8 degree average launch is what I'm talking about. Just, lazy fly ball out to right. We've seen carry into the seats. 2.45 ERA, but a 4.56 xFIP, 4.41 Sierra, showing a little bit of the rust. 20% strikeout is obviously a little bit low for this pitcher, so is a 6.9% swinging strike rate. I think Cole's still putting it all together, getting out there and laboring through some innings. But if we get anything like that 10 strikeout day, which is definitely still in the cards for this pitcher, any given slate, and particularly against the White Sox lineup, the confirmed version of this lineup has a 23.5% strikeout rate on the season. This is a good enough target to use Garrett Cole. 95, 91. I have faith that we're not off as far as those projections go, and he's got a tremendous ceiling if all goes to plan. Davis Martin on the other side has just been pitching great all season. 12.6% swinging strike rate, 25.2% strikeouts, 5.4% walks is tremendous. Pushing nearly that 20% mark that we're looking for. Call that good enough for government work. We'll round it up. Davis Martin pitching like an ace. 2.41 ERA, 3.15 xFIP, 3.35 Sierra. Entirely believable. He has given up a little bit in terms of the hard hit rate, the exit velo. It hasn't been on much of a launch angle. He's been missing barrel all season. 0.96% home runs, maybe slightly lucky. A few just random fly balls probably should have gotten out against him here and there that didn't. But he's been believably good at checking power somewhat. It's having a little impact here for the Yanks. The bigger impact is no Aaron Judge in this lineup. But you can see even Ben Rice, 8.04, 7.35 on Jazzy down there. So a little bit of impact from Davis Martin and his ability to keep the ball in the yard. Doesn't mean the Yankees can't drive the ball. Doesn't mean the Yankees can't put one in the seats. The Yanks are ranked down the board somewhat, though, for them. 12th, 11th, cross sites, 17th by home runs. How often you see that in Yankee Stadium? So definitely not the Yankees we were playing with at the beginning of the year, but still dangerous. Could bend the day on Davis Martin a little bit. 9,000 works, 10-2. I've got enough faith built up at this point that this is all real, so would use them at 10-2, even against a still dangerous Yankees team in Yankee Stadium. Talking about White Sox bats, Sammy Antonacci leading off. Solid 208 plate appearances for the rookie, 278, 379, 381. He's stolen 9 bags, hit a pair of home runs. Fantastic 370 xWOBA lurking under the surface. Tell us he's got a little bit more to give too. 7.5% barrel rate so far. Low strikeout, lower medium walk rate. Lot of well-struck balls in play. And again, a player like Antonacci, less of a home run bat, but left-handed, just put one in the air. And we could see it fly out of Yankee Stadium on Garrett Cole. So a little boosted home run upside despite the 1.90 in the model. Even just as a table setter, that's a great option if you're going White Sox. Miguel Vargas having the season of his life, 16 home runs, 10 stolen bases, still an elite 370 on base, 398 xWOBA. To say that he's actually technically underperforming somehow is wild. Making great contact, 13.7% barrel, 45.1% hard hit. Needs to go oppo if we're putting one into the right field seats, but power against all fields right now. Benintendi, we've talked about. I don't really like the player overall. I don't think he's all that good. He's definitely not reliable. 295 on base, 236, 295, 409. But he's hitting the ball with authority this year. 11% barrels, right in line with where he was last year. The hard hit rate is up by about 11 percentage points year over year. I don't expect it to last, but that's a usable lefty bat in this ballpark. Montgomery at just 43, 34. Colson, that is. 17 homers. Excellent way to fill shortstop if you're going to this team. Not a terrible one-off shortstop, honestly, at 43 on DraftKings. 34 on FanDuel just puts him as a, also ran if you're one-offing short. But keep him in mind on DK. You just come up light on, I can't afford the good shortstop from the team I want to get to, but let me take a kid with a good shot at a home run. One of only a handful of guys over the magic number for home run upside today. Right? That's 23 guys, some of whom may or may not be playing. It looks like most of the guys on that list are playing. But with 24 teams, 12 games in play, that's kind of a short list of guys that are actually above the magic number. And a lot of it's just the super obvious star caliber players. So the fact that you get one of them right there at a very cheap price at a key position makes Montgomery a little interesting. Braden Montgomery is a good piece of correlated scoring. Again, just got called up the other day, but the kid's got talent, high pedigree prospect for this organization. Switch hitter, 3,128 in the outfield, totally works. Chase Meadroth at 38, 28, 283, 51, 402 slash line on the season. He's also been tremendous. The odd uptick for him is strikeouts this year. 14.3 last year, gone up to 22.1%. Limiting strikeout is part of his game. You can see some overperformance, 336 weighted on base against the 295 xWOBA. I do like him to continue to beat weighted on base, but I think he needs to reduce the strikeout rate to be able to actually make that believable. 112 WRC plus on the season, though. A good piece for correlated scoring. Not a monster power bat, but has found 6 home runs along the way this year. Right-handed hitter, though, kind of more limited than some of the top-end guys. Jacob Gonzalez is a little bit interesting for some of the power that he had on display in the minors. So far in the show, not really hitting the ball for that much power. 1 home run in 42 plate appearances, but a lack of premium contact. A lot of strikeouts on board. Has drawn a few walks, but I like the upside for Cole to find some Ks from the bottom of this lineup. Tristan Peters has been effective. 294, 352, 452, a 124 WRC plus. A 304 xWOBA hiding under that very, very good 354 actual, I think tells you the story about the kind of contact he's making. And just that he's found some success along the way. You're paying no tax whatsoever to use Tristan Peters here, though, for all that success he's found in nearly 200 plate appearances now. So if you're going to this team, no problem with it. And then Drew Romo, a mix and match piece. He's got 5 home runs on the board. Does have an 8.2% barrel rate if you're looking for somebody crazy sneaky to round out a White Sox stack when you're going there already. He's not off the board for a home run in Yankee Stadium, but he's a less than likely option, 6.37 in the model. On the Yanks side, we get Mr. Benji Rice off the top here. So we got this. I'll give it another click. Ben Rice, tremendous season. 293, 387, 611. Carrying the weight of the world for this team with with Judgy out, Stanton still out and had a setback and so on and so forth. But Rice, 61-41, the key piece if you're going Yankees. He's got some help, though. It's not like he's here alone. Jason Dominguez, we'll see whether or not he plays. He's kind of a mix and match outfielder right now with the way that he's going. He does have ceiling, more so than just another outfielder, but right now more playing like just another outfielder over these 41 plate appearances. The guys you want to focus on, I think, Cody Bellinger, former MVP, tons of upside, 10 home runs, 361 on base. Next man up, Paul Goldschmidt, having a fantastic surge. Wasn't expected to play every day, but has been lately just out of necessity. 295, 366, 532. He's hit 9 home runs and 175 plate appearances. 17.7% strikeout. He's carrying an 11.1% barrel rate. What I think you pay attention to a little bit is that sub 40% hard hit rate shows a little bit of, maybe some hiccups upcoming with some consistency gaps. But 389 weighted on base, 365 xWOBA. It's 24 points below, but still significant. 149 WRC plus. If he was just 365 across the board, I would be saying the exact same thing about how well he's been playing. Absolutely can go there at 44-33. And first base eligible, no conflict on FanDuel. First base conflict big time with Ben Rice on DraftKings, which kind of sucks. Jazz Chisholm's only 47-31. Take advantage of that. Jazzy's got 9 home runs, 20 stolen bases. The counting stats have been largely there. It's just the utter lack of consistency, the 229, 318, 400, the fact that he himself promised a 50-50 season this year. It's been problematic, but that's a very high upside player, tons of ceiling against a previously gettable righty like Davis Martin, let's say. That's a big lefty bat to throw into the mix if you're going Yankees. And again, the Yanks, from where they're totaled, from where they're ranked on even my board, they'll be under-owned for being the New York Yankees in Yankee Stadium. And there are still good names here. Spencer Jones is a good name. 2,400, 2,200, awfully cheap for a kid who hit as many home runs in the minor leagues as he did. For a kid who's currently in the show, over 48 plate appearances, incredibly small sample over which he's done very, very little, is still carrying a 73.9% hard hit rate in that tiny sample of batted ball events. That is in the stratosphere. That is just outrageously good. Obviously unsustainably high, but it shows that there is quality there that we can pick up and convert into, more success at the plate. He's also striking out at a 41.7% clip in that tiny sample. There are tons and tons of Ks in Spencer Jones's game, capable of drawing the walk, but we're looking to that kid for cheap power in the Yankees outfield. Lefty bat, target those seats. Jose Caballero, 32-29, mix and match piece across multiple positions. Fire away, 6 home runs, 15 steals. Solid player with good upside across the board for DFS purposes. Cheap Ryan McMahon with his power in the bat. 7 home runs, a bad 187 plate appearances. Been in and out of the lineup a little bit, but love the lefty upside in Yankee Stadium for those cheap prices to fill third base, a key position that we don't have. Today we've got a large slate, but that's a good upside bat. Multiple time 20 home run hitter. 10.5% barrels and 48.2% hard hits is right in line with expectations for Ryan McMahon, even though a lot of the rest of it looks low end. Just go to Ryan McMahon when you play Yankee stacks. It makes sense. Trust me. JC Escada, mix and match guy, still has that third base eligibility on FanDuel as a weird little wrinkle. Not a player you typically want to get to that much. 79 awful plate appearances so far. Davis Martin, which is weird because the next name is Garrett Cole. But I think he's earned it. Davis Martin, Garrett Cole. Yankees bats, White Sox bats, though. I think you've got playability on either side of this one. It's kind of a weird four corners game. Mets bats not yet in. Loving the upside for the Mets bats at 5.19 implied. Pirates baseball asking chat how they feel about taking E-Cab against the Rockies. Monster spot for upside, tons of Ks. Not a trustworthy guy on the mound. Erratic should be his middle name. Love the upside for the Mets at that 5.19 implied total in this super hitter-friendly park, going up against a very gettable Brady Singer, 5.61 ERA, a 4.62 xFIP, 4.61 Sierra, full run better, but still not good at all. Way too many guys on base and way too much power on display. 6.03% home runs so far. Pretty realistic, honestly, given the 11.3 over the line barrel. 42.5% hard hits way over the line. 91.4 miles an hour of exit velo on average is way over the line. So feeding a little power upside to the Mets, you really see it in Juan Soto. And this is a good example of while there's power here and some power showing, this is a team that, the Brett Beatty's of the world, the MJ Melendez's of the world, the Jared Youngs of the world don't exactly rocket through the top of the board, even in good home run situations. So these are good numbers for those guys. But the Mets dropped down a little bit in the overall home run total column. They're 6th, but they're one of the top ranked teams overall, tops by value on both sides because they're kind of cheap given the underperformance for a lot of these players. So good day to be the Mets, good day to go to the Mets. I wouldn't use Brady Singer under any circumstances. 6,000, not in this ballpark, not the way he's pitching. That is really ugly. Has he done anything? Last time out at San Diego, very pitcher-friendly park, had a good game. 5 strikeouts and a walk, 2 earned runs on 6 hits. Not bad. Quality start. Didn't get the win, but got the quality start. Start before that, only 1 earned run but 4 runs total over only 4 innings, 4 hits allowed, a home run allowed, 6 strikeouts but 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks, 2 home runs, 3 earned runs on 4 hits over 5 against the Braves the start before that. Back-to-back 3 home run games against the Guardians and the Nationals. The game against the Padres most recently where he didn't allow a home run was the first time he didn't allow a home run after 7 straight starts of allowing at least 5 of those 7. He allowed 2 or more. 2 of those were 3. So, yeah, that's a targetable pitcher that I don't think you want to use on the mound. Senga, in his return to action, hasn't pitched since April 26th. Had some bumpy outings to start the year. That last start, he only went 2 2/3, gave up 3 earned runs against Colorado and came out. Start before that, though, 3 1/3 at Wrigley on April 17th. Gave up 6 earned runs, 7 total on 6 hits, struck out 3, walked 3, allowed 2 home runs. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 home runs allowed, 7 earned runs on 8 hits over 2 1/3 to the Athletics in New York. The start before that, in again, mid-early April, April 11th. Was much better in the first 2 outings. 6 innings, 5 2/3 against the Cards and San Francisco on the road. 9 strikeouts against the Cards, 7 against San Francisco. 2 earned runs in each game. Has that kind of upside, but I don't think we're seeing him pitching into the 6th inning today in his first start back. I think we're capped at 5. He did go 6 in his most recent minor league start. I do have to call that out. 5 the outing before that. So I think it's on the board if everything goes great. But in this ballpark, once he rings up a healthy pitch count, going through the lineup for the 3rd time, are they really going to send him back out for a 6th? I feel I'm skeptical, even if things go to plan. And I think if memory serves, in that 6 inning outing, he only threw like 75 pitches. So it's not like he went out and threw 100 pitches in that outing. So I think just too much working against the Kodai Senga spot here. 76-72 in a full start, he'd at least be moderately intriguing. But we have to remember how he's pitching at the beginning of this year, too, including a lot of power on display and a fly ball trajectory pitcher in a super home run friendly park. Not great. Reds bats definitely on the board 4-1-9, but the Mets up first, 5-1-9 on their side. Carson Benji, 3,500, 3,000 has been good. 7 home runs, 10 steals. I keep talking about that excellent xWOBA under the surface. 314 actual is below average, but 348 X is way above. Hitting the ball with authority. Interesting player out of the leadoff role. Needs to get on base a little bit more consistently to hold that down, but a quality option for cheap pricing in the outfield. Hitting ahead of Bo Bichette, who remains cheap, 41.29 despite a little surge. He's up to 8 home runs, 245, 290, 372, starting to show some signs. 330 xWOBA, most interestingly, under that 292 to say that the surge, the potential return to form in the second half is in the cards. So really like the upside for Bichette. You hope that people haven't noticed too much. The sites definitely haven't with those prices. Juan Soto is just a star, and honestly, 58.39, underpriced by at least $100 on FanDuel, 200 on DraftKings. He should be just bottom of the price list for Soto. Should be 6,000, 4,000. He should never go below those prices. He's just fantastic. 293, 89, 555, 15 home runs, a 160 WRC plus, and utterly elite 422 xWOBA under a 400 actual. Jared Young has pop in the bat from the left side, 2,700 going up against a really bad righty who's allowing a lot of power. That's a nice bargain chip to have in this Mets lineup. I expect he gets popular both on his own and among people who roster the Mets, but that's a really interesting piece. 4 home runs in 88 plate appearances. Monster upside for barrels and hard hits. Just needs to keep doing what he's doing out there. Not even really striking out that much so far this year. 21.6, nice and tidy. AJ Ewing at 34-28, very usable. 2 homers, 7 steals, 336 on base. I would honestly, if I'm the Mets, consider moving Ewing into that spot and bench down to this spot. I think that jibes more with what these guys do and what they're doing. You're getting a little bit more on base out of Ewing. He's got the speed to fill out the traditional stolen base role of the leadoff hitter. But most importantly, he's getting on base pretty effectively and more effectively in a smaller sample than Carson Benji has. Benji's been hitting for more power, putting better contact together than AJ Ewing in the smaller sample. The Mets, maybe not smart enough to spot something like that. That's why they need to hire me as a bench coach. Yeah, I'd rather coach for the Yankees, but if the Mets come calling, I think I would take the job. 2,800, 2,600 across sites for Marcus Semien, just a mix and match piece at best at second base. He is just shot. 9 home runs, 6 stolen bases, the occasional counting stat, but that's about it. Totally unreliable. Brett Beatty's more interesting. A little bit of pop in the bat from the left side and multi-position on FanDuel. Third base works for 3,000 on DraftKings. MJ Melendez, we talked about yesterday for the very, very cheap prices. MJ over 125 plate appearances and whatever number of batted ball events, carrying a 10.9% barrel and a 56.3% hard hit. This is still a guy who can drill the ball when he makes contact. The contact can come and go, 33.6% strikeout, but he's drawing a healthy 11.2% walk rate this year, keeping him alive statistically with a 104 WRC plus and 323 on base, despite some strikeout, despite the preponderance of zeros in his game scores. 318 WOBA with a 280 xWOBA shows a little overperformance, and even the overperformance has him 2 points below average, but still an interesting bat to mix in for as cheap as he is. If you're just throwing home run upside across the board in your Mets stacks, that's an interesting name to get to from the left side at a very cheap price. And then Frankie Alvarez, 17.2% barrel, 5 home runs and 146. That's a nice cheap catcher at 3,200 to have in your lineup on DraftKings. FanDuel 25. He definitely plays in that spot. You do have Beatty and Jared Young both going through the catcher first base position on FanDuel, but both those guys can be played elsewhere. So gives you a little bit of flexibility, move pieces around. Definitely like the option. On the red side, Blake Dunn. Interesting option from the leadoff role. Upside for stolen bases, 6 on the season and just 121 chances. Low strikeout, balls in play, beat him to first base is the nature of his game, so that's an interesting enough player. JJ Bleday went deep again, 13 home runs on the board. Sal Stewart's got a 13 home run total as well, 11 stolen bases for Stewart. And don't sleep on the Eugenio Suarez surge. He's up to 7. 2 of them came last night. He hits home runs in bunches, hit 49 of them last year. One of the better power bats when everything's going right. Just had bookend slow starts around a very long absence so far this year, but 4,000, 2,900, those prices are still sleeping on Eugenio. Take advantage. He could have a monster day yet again today. Senga has allowed some premium contact. He's allowed some power in the short outings this year. Last year, he was better. Limited barrels, but a few hard hits in there, a little bit of fly ball trajectory, 2.49% home runs. And then the year before that, that was 5 innings. That's right. Year before that, it was similar to this year, where he was okay at keeping the ball in the yard. But the ballpark here, the lack of recent pitching in the show, a lot of things working against Senga that could lead to some upside for power. Nathaniel Lowe's been good and only cost 3,529. He's come down somewhat, 257, 351, 493 now after the hot start, but still carrying 9 home runs, a 12.5% barrel rate. Interesting enough player, given the 374 xWOBA under that 367 actual so far in 174 chances. Not a bad option from the left side to throw into first base at a very, very cheap price. No positional conflicts that stand out for him. Where you get a conflict is the combination on DraftKings of Stewart, Lowe, and Suarez. You can only have 2 of those 3 guys. First base, third base, and then first and third base. FanDuel, you can obviously get all 3 with the util spot in the mix. I don't have an issue, though, if you're leaving one of those 3 guys on the table with the struggles that Eugenio's gone through for the most part this year, and then the up and down nature of Nathaniel Lowe. I think that's reasonable to go back and forth, mixing 2 of those 3 guys on either side. If I get lineups with all 3, though, I'm not taking them out, especially if it was just like that stretch. It's monster upside there. Spencer Steer, good option to fill out a lineup. 4,300, second base eligible on DK, 3,000 multi-position on FanDuel. 10 homers, hits the ball squarely, 12.6% barrel. He's up and down as far as the consistency goes, but solid option and a cheap price. Tyler Stevenson, we love at catcher, 3,000, never expensive. A lot of power in that bat. 5 home runs, mixed bag of a season, over 201 plate appearances, but he's better, even more consistent than he's been so far this year, and we're just hunting for cheap barrels. Last year, 14.4% barrels, 49.2% hard hits. This year, 10.6, 43.9. Those are still very good for as cheap as he is at a necessary position. And he's got the upside to approach last year on any given slate. Matty McClain, we've talked about the utility for counting stats. 8 home runs, 11 stolen bases, solid run scoring and RBI numbers. Excellent looking 334 XWOBA lurking under that 307 actual to show us a lot of the underperformance too. Don't be surprised if Matt McClain continues to surge and ends up having a pretty decent year, and any given slate upside at those prices for sure. Honestly, no real issues with shortstop positioning even. Second base on FanDuel is where I'd prefer him, but would play him in either spot. And then Eddie Arroyo, bringing up the bottom. 36 pretty weak plate appearances in the show so far. Yet to barrel a ball. The numbers were immense in the minor leagues, even going back in time last year when he didn't have big home run totals. Had a great slash line, stole a ton of bases. There's a lot of utility there. We just haven't seen it at this level yet. Going up against a gettable Kodai Senga in a hitter-friendly park, don't sleep on him as a just real cheap way to round out a lineup. I don't love that he's shortstop only on FanDuel. It's kind of the opposite of McClain. Would play him more at second base, I think, on DraftKings. Mets bats, Reds bats. Don't think we're using either pitcher here. Yeah, Singer's just been so vulnerable to the long ball this year, Meach. Is that league worst? That is not currently league worst. Jameson Taillon, currently league worst. Taillon's allowed 20 home runs in just 67 and 2/3. 20 home runs to 287 hitters so far. Jeffrey Springs next, 19 to 340 hitters. 18 allowed by Mike Burrows in a big disappointment to me to 350. 18 allowed to 355 to Ryan Nelson. Real oddball, 17 allowed by Nathan Eovaldi over 363 hitters is crazy out there. And then the Singer total, 17 that you mentioned. So he's in a 3-way tie with Eovaldi and Shota Imanaga, who's been crazy bad for power this year. But his 17 came against only 282 hitters over 61 innings. So he's faced far fewer hitters and has the same total. So, yeah, Singer's been really bad for power. That's easily on the board. Giants and Braves, let's see if we got these lineups in. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel when you get a chance. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen, those free weeks, maybe one or two still lingering out there. Haven't checked. Promo code for that was Cubs win, all one word, capital C, capital W. Free first week on a weekly. Does renew at regular price, if not canceled. And the home run picks contest. Let me throw that up here real quick. There's your leaderboard. Loyalty Chisel with 3 home runs on the board. Cujo's got 2 correct. Larry's got 1 correct. You got to pick after the video in a comment on this video. Leave your home run pick of the day, 1 per customer. Got to use the same YouTube name day after day or they won't total up. You can get them counted separately if you want them, but doesn't do you any good. Can't use my home run pick of the day that we'll get to soon. Only 1 Ohtani or Judge usage. Judge's out. Only 1 Ohtani usage per customer. Loyalty Chisel already used up his Ohtani pick and got it right, so paid off that day. First to 5 correct home run picks in the grand scheme of things here in an ongoing contest wins a free month of rotoscouts that you can use at any time. Take it now, baseball only. Take it in September when we get football and baseball going. There's a window in October where I think you could squeeze some hockey into that too if you started at the right time. So whatever you want to do with the free month, but make sure you come back after the show. Leave a comment. Even if you don't enter the contest, it's free to enter. Even if you don't enter, leave a comment. Tell me I did a good job, bad job. I love seeing those, and it definitely feeds the YouTube algorithm because we're getting more and more views. Andy took my home run pick of the day at plus 650 on Hard Rock. We'll get to him. Look, it's an out there pick, right? But we know that that's a guy who can find them from time to time in good spots, and I really like the looks of that spot. So it's not a bad price if that pays off, that plus 650. I like it. I think on FanGraphs he was 3+ and change, average at worst. Upside for him. So we'll get there. Jake Swales calling out Burleson for his home run pick. That's a good pick. You got to leave it in a comment after the show, pal. Nothing in chat. Chat don't count. Giants 401 implied total. A little bit better in recent games. There's a surging Bryce Eldridge to deal with at 3,100, 3,000 in the 2 spot in this lineup. 121 excellent plate appearances for the kid. And this is just him coming to the show with his talent in tow. 12.5% barrel, 57.5% hard hits, tremendous slash line, 166 WRC plus, as good as advertised, and still very, very cheap. First base on DraftKings, outfield on FanDuel, because why not? Luis Ariz in the leadoff role for the Giants here. They're going up against Grant Holmes. Grant Holmes, a serviceable average type pitcher, not particularly high strikeout, right around the league average at 20.6, too many walks at 10-1, but does find the swinging strike, 12.9% swinging strike rate on the season. So maybe off chance of finding a few bonus Ks as you go down through some of their better bats. The Willie Adameses, the Rafi Devers of the world have high strikeout rates this season and in some years past. So there are some Ks available around some of their better bats. There are some definitely lower end hitters in this lineup, but the way that the Giants get dangerous in and around the power hitting guys, good or bad as they've been, is that they've got some guys who are very good at hitting for average, decent at getting on base, so they can be pesky any given slate. And for a pitcher like Grant Holmes, who doesn't really put away hitters, it could get ugly, especially if he's putting a few bonus guys on base via the walk. 1.34 whip on the season. You can see mid-4s, XFIP mid-4 Sierra under a 4.05 ERA. It's also prone to giving up a little bit of power. 4.53% home runs allowed on the season on an over-the-line 10.2% barrel. Exit velocity and hard hit rate both also over our emergency thresholds. So maybe a little bit of a lurking Giants team here. Not a great total, but maybe they surprise a little bit. 401 implied. The obvious target is going to be the bats on the other side of this at their healthy 5+ implied total. But maybe we can get away with picking off a few Giants at very low ownership. On the Braves side, going up against Adrian Hauser, who's only 53.66, 15.5% strikeout rate, pitching to a 5.54 ERA, a 4.81 XFIP, allowing a little bit of power this season, 9.9% barrel, 44.1% hard hits, and 90.9 miles an hour of exit velo. We're over the line on both of these, and we're a 1/10 of a point below on the barrel rate. It comes at a not tremendous in either direction. 11.8 degree average launch. Last year he was at 9.3. The year before, exact match, 9.3. Year before that was 11.2. You can see the home run marks in previous seasons. 2.70, 2.59, 1.93 on very similar quality of contact. So yeah, these are up a little bit, but these are somewhat on a more line drivey, keep the ball down type of trajectory. Little happenstance in that uptick in home runs. I believe truly that he's more this 2.5 to 3% home run type rather than 3.72, which is still 4% is usually what I consider alarming, like Grant Holmes on the other side. So he's still technically slightly below the alarm bells level anyway here. And I think in truth, he's a little bit better than that in terms of limiting home runs. But what he's not at all is a strikeout pitcher. What he's not at all is a pitcher who's likely to keep the Braves off the board and limit them to under their Vegas total. I like the Braves in the over today. I just think that maybe it's not via the home run quite as much as you might think. They've got some big-time home run hitters in that lineup, though, that could easily defy that, especially with more balls on a higher trajectory heading toward the seats that Hauser has been giving up this season. So none of that is to discount their chances. It's more maybe to explain why they don't fully show up in the model today and why the Braves, like some of the other teams I highlighted, are 19th by home runs, despite being 8th and 6th by projection, 9th and 7th by value, and 5th by home run total. Home run model's got the long memory. So on the Giants, as mentioned, some good hitters for average. Luis Ariz, Young-Hoo Lee competing with one another for batting titles. 319, 331 averages, 352 on base for Ariz so far, 364 for Young-Hoo Lee, a few spots further back. Both guys creating runs in a positive sense via WRC+. Neither guy overly reliable for anything other than a ball in play, but both guys are well below 10% strikeouts. 4.2% for Luis Ariz is spectacular. That's just who he is. I mean, look at these numbers over the years. And just think about how many balls in play that is when this guy's seeing 700 plate appearances a year. It's ridiculous. Just comes down to where the ball falls. 339 WOBA, 300 xWOBA. Probably a guy who continues to defy xWOBA in a lot of ways, just based on being able to get to first base before the ball does. And Young-Hoo Lee, again, light hitter, but slightly more impact 2.3% barrel versus the 0.4. Last year it was 3.7. The year before 4.5. It's a little bit more line drive quality. The occasional home run. He's hit 3 on the season. You're looking at him more for a correlated scoring piece, though, ahead of Adames, Matty Chapman down lineup if you're building with this Giants team. It's a nice piece to have there, though, to reset the table for correlated scoring, especially if you go like, big bat up here, and leave correlated scoring kind of off the board with those top 4 guys. We definitely want Eldridge. Great price, especially on DK. Casey Schmidt at 44.34. You're paying a little bit of tax for the 15 home runs that he's found. 276, 308, 510 is a good, not great slash line. 351 WOBA, 344 X WOBA. There's nothing to take away from him, but you are paying a little bit of tax. It's not a high price. FanDuel a little bit higher relatively to the cap than maybe DK is. 41.5% hard hits is actually down from last season, but the barrel spiked a little bit. That's where the home run output came from. I just don't trust that a lot of that's going to continue as far as the power output goes, but he's a reasonable piece if you're going to this team. He would be my sacrificial lamb from among the good players up at the top, though. Rafi Devers would not be my sacrifice. 3,900, especially not at that price. 9 home runs on the board, an ugly 291 xWOBA under a 306 actual. Maybe it's misguided, but I just continue to believe. We've seen Devers go through struggles and then have monster surges when everything gets right for whatever reason. Under the surface, 9.5% barrels, 49, or maybe loudly and on the surface. I don't know. Next to his bad slash line, 9.5% barrels. It's down hard for him, but still a very good mark on its own. Nearly a 50% hard hit rate. Again, down several points for him, but still a very good mark on its own. Strikeouts are up a little bit. Walks are down hard. That's a big part of the problem as far as the on-base, the weighted on-base numbers go. Rafi Devers is in there somewhere, going up against a gettable pitcher like Grant Holmes. Easily on the board and a crucial part of Giant stacks. The only player on the Giants above the magic number for home run upside. Willie could be there. 8.18 in the model, not bad. 11 homers on the season. Maddeningly inconsistent, but a lot of well-struck baseballs when he's going right. A lot of Ks, not enough walks, especially this season by comparison to last year, year before. There were walks in those previous seasons. 5.7% right now is tragic. Matt Chapman's kind of pulled things together. 261, 348, 414. All of a sudden, he's up to a 117 WRC plus. Is Matt Chapman just being Matt Chapman? 299 xWOBA remains concerning under that elite 330, or that very good, I should say, 338 actual. The barrels and the hard hits have still not really shown up, at least in the aggregate. In previous seasons, he's been tremendous for batted ball events. But he's put together some good games. The power's arrived a little bit. I suspect if we looked at the last, say, 2 weeks of batted ball events, we'd have pretty healthy barrel and hard hit rates. So I think those numbers are on the rise, believably. 35 remains very, very cheap. 3,000 totally works on FanDuel. Drew Gilbert, Daniel Susac to save time. You're mixing and matching those guys. Clintwood asks, are we worried about the weather in Atlanta? Fortunately, I have the weather board up here, and yeah, I think we probably should be. That's a good call out there, Clintwood. Appreciate you, buddy. Let's do this. This is from our pals over at Prop Finder. propfinder.app /weather. This is Kevin Roth and his new home. The reason I'm specifically calling out, I always do try and cite them or anybody that we pull information from. But I'm going to put the weather board here just because I saw Emac showing the whole weather board on his show the other day. I'm going to show the whole weather board on mine, even though it's not mine. I guess we're allowed to do that sort of thing. I don't actually know, but full credit. This is Kevin Roth's board from propfinder.app. That's your ugly game. 51% chance of precipitation. Roth has it orange. Roth's note is a bunch of scattered storms around, not a ton of organization, just storms around. Delay likely, postponement possible. So it's one of those humid, ugly, just pop-up thunderstorms in the afternoon, right around game time, pain in the ass kind of Atlanta days. Keep an eye on that one. That one could potentially get ugly. Everything else, you've got yellow in Cincinnati. It says a few showers, maybe some more late. Shouldn't have any major issues for the game. You can see that the wind is blowing out in that Cincinnati bandbox. Looks like a great spot for hitting. Cardinals looks like a good spot a few further down there. Right here. Wind blowing out toward right center at 9 miles an hour. Not bad. The Wrigley game You do have significant wind blowing out at 15 miles an hour in Wrigley to be aware of. Just 67 degrees, so not hot and windy, which is the dangerous combination in Wrigley. But that's a healthy piece of wind. You can also see, though, it is driving toward that deeper corner there. Sutter has a 10-mile-an-hour wind blown out toward left center that should help bats 85-degree temps. It's 106 in the desert, but they'll have the roof closed for that one. So, yeah, appreciate the question. That was a good call out. Some concerns there for Atlanta for sure. As I mentioned to EMAC, you could always go to my old go-to. The roof's open for that 100-degree game? Holy shit. That's dangerous. Yeah, if the roof's open in Arizona for that 106 degrees, that is problematic for the pitchers and bump the bats for sure. I was expecting it to be closed. So, yeah, a little trick I always like to pull for checking weather right around game time is go to a traffic app site and pull up traffic cams on like the highway. If you can get close to the ballpark, some ballparks have weather cams, but find a highway that's close to the ballpark and just pull up the live traffic cam view and just take a look at what it's looking like. Obviously, we trust the weathermen and their forecasting and everything, but no, Meech. All right, you're asking, not telling. I expect that roof's going to be closed. Okay. Clarification there from Meech. He was asking, not telling. Important note. Keep an eye on it if it happens to be open. Absurd spot for bats, but I expect it's going to be closed. All right, let's see. We're on the Braves. Upside for sure. And again, even and especially against this version of Adrian Hauser, there is probably even a little bit more power than might be showing for some of their key power bats. You're still dealing with a Acuna-less version of the Braves, but you've got this resurgent and excellent version of Michael Harris this year. 15% barrels, and he's carried that throughout the season. 51.8% hard hits, 14 homers on the board. You get Drake Baldwin back in the lineup, 4,800, 3,500. He's got 13 home runs and a fantastic slash line over 216 chances before he took an injury. I forget what the injury was. 18.6% barrels, 53.8% hard hits. Drake Baldwin is an asset among those three premium lefty bats at the top of the Braves lineup. As I'm looking at the Braves, I'm getting more enthused about that 5-run total. Matty Olson at 5,000, 3,700 has 20 home runs on the season already, 273, 45, 54. Just Matt Olson being Matt Olson. Peak form. Love the upside. Fair price too. 5,000, honestly, a little bit cheap. 37 on FanDuel, perfectly fair. Ozzy Albies at 46.32. Continue to question the overperformance given the 311 xWOB under the 337 actual, but we've seen Ozzy do this before. As I keep on saying, he's doing it with a near total lack of premium contact, but that's kind of who he is. He's gotten away with that in the past. These were his better years back here, but even that year wasn't exactly tremendous. Low strikeout, medium walk rate, a lot of balls in play. Take what you get. It's a reasonable price, not a good price, I would say. Dom Smith is intriguing at 34.27. He's having a good year, 171 pretty good plate appearances. 282, 318, 436. Very strong hit tool. Little bit of pop from the left side on display this year with those 6 early home runs. But the nature of his game is more hit tool, get on base type focus. Not a bad piece for correlated scoring. It's just you get him ahead of Mauricio Dubon, who is not overpriced, but probably overrated in people's minds right now. He had a good start to his year. Right now, he's already come back down to earth, 259, 315, 401, sub standard WRC plus at 99, xWOBA and WOBA 317, 315. So you can already see that he's not a high-quality player. He's just a utility guy that fills multiple positions. Not a great person to be on base in front of. Austin Riley, in this form, 203, 287, 348, 8 home runs, 10.2% barrel, 43.8% hard hit is the only thing we can cling to, but those numbers even are way, way down for this player. And they're down for this player in his last 2 bad seasons or lower-end seasons, let alone his elite seasons. I don't know where he's gone. I hope he comes back. 41.29. Fairly priced. The price has come down, and there's a lot of cheap surrounding bats. He's still the biggest upside piece from the bottom, but I'm really, really, really concerned about Austin Riley. Mike Yastrzemski at 3,025. Nice and cheap for a guy who's hit for power in years past. Nothing really to speak of over 200 plate appearances this year. Pretty much a lack of quality. Really limited barrel rate, cut in half from last year. That was already down from years past. 3 home runs in 200 plate appearances is off pace. Any given slate upside for sure, though. Against Adrian Hauser, upside for balls in play to just pay off for sure. Ha-Seong Kim, mix and match piece at best, given the 62 just utterly terrible plate appearances so far this season. He's quite a bit better than that, but I'd rather have Jorge Mateo right now. Braves bats. Giants bats. Grant Holmes definitely over Adrian Hauser, but neither of those pitchers has all that much appeal. And again, be wary of the weather. Get some more lineups in here. Oh, the Giants just came in. Cards came in too. All right, Eldridge Chapman. So Matty Chapman moves up the lineup from where we had him. Willie still hanging in down here. Jung Lee setting the table ahead of Willie. Casey Schmidt moving down lineup. This makes Casey Schmidt even worse of a price proposition that he's hitting 7th now. It's the same lineup, just in a different order. Lot of price impact from the top of this Giants lineup, though. If you're choosing to attack Grant Holmes, the scuffling version of Grant Holmes here, it's not a bad cheapo option to go with. A lot of cheap prices to string together just off the top. I mean, that top 5 right there is a 35-60 average, so 36 apiece. 5 guys for 17,800 to target Grant Holmes. Not bad. Can't skip the Guardians game, much as we might want to. 4.42 implied total on the Brewers. I think they're the talking point here because we've got Slate Ciccone on the mound for the Guardians. He's not very good. 4.83 ERA. Does have a 4.16 xFIP, 4.25 SIERA that are a little bit more representative. He's about that guy. Below average strikeout pitcher, 8.9% swinging strike rate. Not a major source of home run upside, but these Brewers can find their home runs against pitchers like this. Balls in the air enough at a 13-degree average launch. No love for Ciccone at 71, 79, even if he's not giving up any power. These Brewers are just too good at sequencing run creation. So don't like that spot for him at all. Going the other way, Robert Gasser at 55, 71. 21.8% strikeouts over his 4 starts, his 18 and a third, but walking 10.3% is a little concerning. The Guardians without Jose Ramirez obviously more targetable than they would be if he was in the lineup. Gasser, the last outing, went 5 in start against the Athletics out at Sutter, gave up 6 earned runs, struck out 7, walked 2, and allowed 4 home runs. You got to discount that for the ballpark situation. Actually, that was Vegas. Excuse me, that wasn't even Sutter. So you got to discount it a little bit on the home run side in that Vegas ballpark. Start before that one on June 3rd. He faced San Francisco, 5 innings in Milwaukee, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts and a walk, 5 hits allowed. Not bad. If you get that kind of a day, I think he's at least a dart you can throw at 55. 71 on FanDuel. I don't think we're getting to the quality start, even if things go to plan. I don't really like the FanDuel upside. And there's enough downside for him that I don't think we go there. But over here at 55, that's a uniquely cheap price. Right? Once we're talking about the extreme bargain bin, you've got Kelly and Rocker there at 69 or 67. Those guys are both usable from the normal bargain bin. But taking another $1,400 off and going down to $5,500 Robert Gasser against a gettable version of the Guardians has some appeal as a discount SP2 by comparison to those two guys directly. Because Kelly's facing the Angels with all their power. Kumar Rocker, not that good, and facing the Twins with a little bit of upside. So, yeah, that spot's usable, and I think he's more usable than Keller, Singer, Perkins, Feltner, and Hauser. So that's kind of your go-to bargain guy. Doesn't project particularly well. But 368 implied total. Dealing with the Guardians lineup with Ana Martinez, Brian Rocho hitting second now. Guy that we're typically years past saying is here for defense. Chase DeLauder, Rhys Hoskins, a little bit of danger coming through there. David Fry, a little bit dangerous to a lefty. But not a tremendous upside day to be the Cleveland Guardians. Let's get into them. Martinez at the top spot for 4 for 29 in this projected lineup. 11 home runs, 9 steals, odd surges for counting stats on the season. 239, 276, 442 shows you the complete lack of consistency. Just a 312 weighted on base with the overperformance. 306 xWOBA, 97 WRC plus. There's not a lot of good indicators here to say that anything of the quality that we've seen is going to continue. He's just found some success via happenstance from the balls in play. 21.8% strikeout is around the average, but just a 2.9% walk rate. This is who he's been in years past, and he hasn't found anything like this success for the home run total. So no faith up there, but a playable piece if you're going to the Guardians and if he's leading off as a switch hitter. Rocio, 35, 3,000 remains affordable with a 274, 353, 399 slash line. I just don't trust that at all. Again, this is a guy we've said every single year for the last few years, just here for defense. Last year, 233, 290, 340 with a 77 WRC plus across 383. The year before, 206, 298, 316 with a 79 WRC plus and 442 plate appearances. This is not a good hitter. It's just a guy who had a few good weeks. 257 adequate plate appearances. Even that slash line is okay, and it's good for Brian Rocchio. The steals add fantasy scoring, but none of it is very real. Especially not the 5 home runs, 3.1% barrel, 32.8% hard hit. Looks a lot like the guy he's been over the past few seasons. So don't get totally sold. 317 xWOBA under that 336 waiting to bite you. 344 under a 331 for Chase DeLauder, though. He's got a little bit more room to grow. 7 home runs. He hasn't hit one in a minute. 263, 337, 408, though. Still getting on base, setting the table for Rhys Hoskins. The two interesting righties, Hoskins, a lot of power in that bat. David Fry, interesting power against left-handed pitching over the years. 6 home runs on the board and 197 chances for Hoskins. A lackluster 185 average offset by a 330 on base. Right at league average 100 WRC plus. Below average weighted on base and a concerning 302 xWOBA, though. Not a player you want carrying your team for too long. David Fry, again, a little bit of bat-on-ball ability from the right side, 9.1% barrel last year is noteworthy, 12.7 in a smaller sample back in 2023. I think that was the year he hit a bunch of home runs in a hurry. Nope, it was only 4 across 113 plate appearances. 14 and 392 is the year I was thinking of back in 2024. Was very good that year. 263, 356, 448, created runs 29% better than average by WRC plus. Travis Bazzana, their hotshot rookie, 4,000, 3,200, 252, 345, 404 over his first 174 plate appearances, 4 homers, 11 stolen bases. That's that kid fulfilling his potential, but keep an eye on that 304 xWOBA under the 332 actual. A little overperformance so far as well. Stuart Fairchild, Gabriel Arias, Austin Hedges, mix and match pieces all. Where you get interesting is Fairchild, a little bit of bat on ball ability, 13.9% barrel from the right side in a small sample last year. Same deal with Gabriel Arias. He's always been able to put good wood on the ball. A lot of swing and miss in his game, but when he happens to connect, he's hit 2 home runs in 32 chances this season with some significant numbers for premium contact. In slightly larger samples, last year, 11 home runs in 471 plate appearances with a terrible slash line. 3 home runs in just 161 the year before, 10 in 345 the year before that. No consistency whatsoever. But one good batted ball event against a middle-of-the-road at best lefty would put those guys in play. Hedges is more of a mixer. The team we actually want to talk about is the Brewers, of course, with all their sequencing abilities going up against the super gettable Slate Ciccone. Ciccone doesn't really allow tons and tons of premium contact, but you can get the ball up and out against him. Jackson Chourio pulling a 10.70 in the home run model. He's already hit 9 in only 165 plate appearances, making terrific contact. We're seeing growth right now from Chourio year over year, even after the absence, and he might not look back. He is this good. 161 WRC plus, 405 weighted on base with a 360 xWOBA under the surface. So, some overperformance and some reality check there, but even 360 is elite if that was his actual number. Yelich, tremendous from the top spot. 4 home runs, solid slash line. Lot more to come from Christian Yelich, as we know well. I would kind of ignore his current xWOBA under that actual. We know that he can put together a strong stretch and normalize those things in an awful hurry. Bryce Terang, 8.5% barrel, nicely up still from the 7.9 last year, which was tremendous growth from previous seasons. 10 home runs, 12 stolen bases, solid slash line, excellent option at second base. Just gets very expensive up at the top end of the Brewers lineup with all those high prices. William Contreras, not a guy you want to sacrifice because everybody else is expensive, though. 45 on DraftKings is probably a discount where you have to play his position. 6 home runs on the board, an excellent slash line. 12.9% strikeouts for a guy who can hit the ball with authority. Good doubles bat, decent home runs bat. 352 on base, carrying a 113 WRC plus. That's a very, very good option at catcher. Jake Bauers, I came so close to making Jake Bauers the home run pick of the day today. I didn't do it. 8.34 in the model. He was 5+% on a light day for power overall, despite the depth of this slate on the Fangraphs game sims. 13 on the season. He's also got the ability to get on base, steal you a bag. Jake Bauers is very, very interesting for DFS. Appropriately priced on both sites, too. Garrett Mitchell, 37.29. We've talked quite a bit about all those premium contact he's found in his batted ball events. Wildly inconsistent, 4 home runs, 6 stolen bases, is getting on at a nice 349 clip, though, to support the power upside, given that 12.8% walk rate. So it's not power or nothing. You're dealing with a little bit of 3 true outcomes type ability here. 114 WRC plus. I'm curious to see where it goes. Any given slate, tremendous upside, especially against a pitcher like this. And then Sal Frelick, David Hamilton, and Cooper Pratt, mixers from the bottom of the lineup. All David Hamilton stolen 14 bases. Sal Frelick, really disappointing output this season, but was quite good last year and has the ability to turn it on in terms of the hit tool and succeed via BABIP in any given slate. A lot of speed, a little bit of power. Cooper Pratt in 261 chances down on the farm this year, 6 home runs, 17 stolen bases already, 249, 349, 386 slash a 100 WRC plus, just a 322 xWOBA under a 339 actual. So a little bit of overperformance in there. Over 527 AA plate appearances last year. He hit 8 homers, stole 31 bases, 238, 343, 348. So at worst, we're dealing with a fairly low strikeout, fairly high walk rate guy with a lot of speed who knows how to get on base. That is an interesting wraparound option from the bottom of the Brewers lineup, especially because he fits right into their paradigm of just getting on base. 2,000 dead min price at short. Position's not ideal, but the price is on FanDuel. 25 on DraftKings, a little bit more expensive, but still very playable given the skill set to bring him back around to Christian Yelich, Jackson Churio. If you want to look at him as a table setter ahead of those guys, that maybe works your way around Bryce Turang's big price and gets you to, the 45 there with a little bit more grace, like that. And then I'd love to take Jake Bauers here, but I'm going to pop Garrett Mitchell and just see what the price looks like. 42.20, 43 a man for a stack that includes Garrett Mitchell, William Contreras, Christian Yelich, Jackson Churio, and then the rookie from the bottom. That's not a bad price point. 5-man for 21.1. Leads me to believe we could afford Bauers if we wanted. 44.20, so 45 a piece. You're getting up there. 22.1 total for the 5-man with Bauers in it. That's a really intriguing stack. Cooper Pratt helping things work from the bottom of the lineup, if he's in the lineup at all. This is still the projected version. Know that he did those things in the minors that I mentioned. Last year's very good numbers at AA, he was only 20. This year's very good numbers at AAA, he's only 21. Interesting. Very good 19-year-old season, by the way, as well, from the complex league up through high A 2 years ago. Interesting skill set to round things off for DFS for that kid. I'm going to say Brewers bats, Guardians bats, but I don't really like it. Robert Gasser on DraftKings. Don't think I play Gasser on FanDuel. Don't think I play Ciccone at all. Pods cards. So we got these. Pod's been the worst offense in baseball all season long. If you're Andre Palante, you got to like the looks of that. He projects out okay. I think he's more a DraftKings play at 78. That's where you can get away with him a little bit. Not the cheapest guy on that slate, but he's an effective enough run limiter. 3.88 ERA, a 4.26 xFIP, 4.32 SIERA. Low strikeout pitcher, but a guy who keeps the ball on an extreme low trajectory. Typically pretty good at limiting home run output. This year so far, a little bit of happenstance at that 3.02. That's on a 7.2 degree average launch. You can see he's spectacular at inducing weak and medium contact, missing barrels with all those combinations of factors. Last year, 2.94% home runs, slightly lower on a 1.4 degree average launch. So he could bring that launch angle down even further. 1.1 degrees the year before was just elite 1.57% home runs. So Palante, very good run limiter. Very realistic opportunity to keep this light-hitting Pods team on the ground in the ballpark. It's just he doesn't go out and rack up monster strikeout totals. This Padres team, little worse than they've been in years past for strikeouts. Everybody hovering right around the league average throughout this lineup. That might be like the exact league average. So not a great target for him, but that's not really what he does. If you're rostering Palante, I think you're looking, give me 7 good innings of 2 to 3 run ball. Get me my quality start on FanDuel. I don't really like him on the FanDuel slate at 87. If he came up in a lineup and there was nobody cheaper that I really liked and I couldn't reach anybody more expensive, I would use, but I would definitely at least explore those options. 78 as an SP2 works more. 86, 89 for King. You can see somewhat similar numbers, 22.1% strikeouts, too many walks, has been okay at limiting home runs at 3.07. He's given up a few barrels and a little bit of launch. The 10.1% barrel is against an 11.4 last year, but 6.2 the year before that. Last year was only 15 starts. It was a more complete season the year before, just finding his way back on form in this stretch. 3.90% home runs on that. A little bit of uptick in hard hit and exit velo that year. This year in the hard hit, the exit velo department, he's looking a lot more like the guy from 2 years ago, who was at 30.1%, 85.7 miles an hour of exit velocity, which is just spectacular. This year, 34.1, 87.2. So on his way back toward potentially being that good home run limiter with a few fly balls in play this year that have done a little damage to that narrative. But a little bit better for strikeouts than Palante is. Playable, but he's 86. He's 89. I think he lacks the true ceiling that we need at those prices by comparison to some of the other guys on the board that are at similar prices. But he's very good. Wouldn't surprise at all if he limited this young Cardinals lineup somewhat. 4.13 implied total, though you can see some of the back and forth nature of this spot in that run total. That's not nothing, and on a board like today, it definitely at least pokes its head above water. Padres bats, if you're looking to go there, love the second base eligibility on Tatis, as we keep talking about. Bad as he's been this year for home run totals, he's had a good season across the slash line. If you're just another second baseman, 279, 345, 346, a 348 xWOBA, there's quality there at that position. 100 WRC plus. Obviously, he's not the superstar that we've seen him be in years past. Jackson Merrill's really struggling. 285 pretty poor plate appearances. 7 homers and 11 steals. At least has a 314 xWOBA. That's still below average, but it's something to cling to when he's got a 271 actual. Making okay premium contact as well when he happens to connect. We're just not seeing the consistency at all from Jackson Merrill. Manny Machado, a lot of that applies to Manny as well. Dozen home runs is the bright point. 177, 255, 358. Totally uncharacteristic output from Manny. Hard hits and barrels are down hard for both categories, but those are still good numbers in a vacuum, just not for Manny Machado. I don't think he's completely done yet, but it's difficult to see. I don't have a lot of justification for saying that he's going to really come roaring back. I still continue to think you don't roster Padres without him all that often, but he's getting more and more skippable. Gavin Sheets, some well-struck batted ball events for cheap money on the season. 11 home runs, 3 steals. Pretty poor slash line overall. 338 weighted on bases, overperforming the 329X, which is still slightly above average. 118 WRC plus. He's a solid mixer with a little bit of potential, but not much more. Not a guy you're going to go out of your way for. Xander Bogaerts, same kind of thing. Not a guy you're going to go out of your way for. Okay for counting stats when you need to go to him, but no real reason, nothing screaming off the page here saying roster Xander Bogaerts. 320 right at league average xWOBA under a pretty poor 294 actual. Will Wagner, mix and match guy, 17 okay plate appearances so far. Very, very cheap across sites at the corners. Don't really love the option at those positions, though. Ty France, not much more than replacement level most of the time. Line drive hitter, found 6 early home runs. A little bit of success early. Still carrying a 200 ISO on some extra base hits. 11.2% barrel and 49% hard hits are nice upticks for him. I just don't think he sustains it in the ongoing sense. 311 xWOBA under a 327 actual. Sun Mun Song and Rodolfo Duran, mix and match pieces at the bottom. The Cards are the better offense here. 413 implied total. They've been better all season long. They've got appealing pieces like J.J. Weatherholt for a fair price at second. Shortstop or second honestly works for the kid. He's talented enough to pay off the shortstop price, but I love the second base eligibility when I can. 10 homers, 7 steals, tremendous on base, 115 WRC plus, very good table setter. Kid who can also clear the bases. Ivan Herrera remains cheap. 4,200, 41.9% hard hit rate on the season. 9 homers, excellent slash line, if nothing else. The power can, dip and dive a little bit. He's not finding the frequency of hard hits that he did last year. He's missing the barrel a little bit more than this year, but 396 on base is fantastic. There's a fair argument to be made that they've got this in the wrong order and that Ivan should be leading off ahead of Weatherholt. Not that Weatherholt's bad at getting on base, but with a little bit more pop showing in Weatherholt's bat, you could go that route. Jordan Walker, kind of sliding in here in the traditional cleanoff role. I would honestly have, out of everybody, Jordan Walker hitting second to just give him a few more plate appearances. That's truly where you want your best bat. And right now, he is by far their best bat. And I expect that to continue in the long term. I'm talking seasons. Right now, 14.1% barrel for 5,300, 4,200 on FanDuel. A little cheaper against the DK cap. 18 homers, 10 steals. Tremendous. Alec Burleson hitting ahead of him. Somebody's home run pick in the chat. 4,200, 3,600. Still cheap on DK. Fairly priced on FanDuel for a guy with that slash line. 13 home runs, a 136 WRC plus, an outrageous 392 xWOBA under his very good 366 actual. To say that there's even more to come. Love the upside for Alec Burleson in an ongoing sense. Lars Nootbaar has been interesting since coming back 41 plate appearances ago. 2 home runs. That's a very good player. Guy who can hit the ball squarely, drive it over the fence, get on base pretty regularly to help his team. That's a good lefty bat to mix in at 37, 32. DraftKings hasn't noticed him yet. His price should go up pretty soon. FanDuel caught up a little bit, but that's still a good price for that talent. Mason Wynn, mix and match shortstop at best. Jimmy Crooks, interesting at the catcher position where you need it. 2,400. Nice salary relief from Ivan up at the top of the lineup. Solid for barrels and hard hits in a small sample so far. Home run on the board. We talked about him yesterday as being a cheap alternative. Same deal with Blaze Jordan. This kid's got so much power. 1 home run on the board in 15 plate appearances already. Take advantage of cheap pricing. 25, 24 at the corners. Different corners, but corners. I guess I like him slightly better at third base, but no issues playing him at first base. This kid hits the ball very hard. He's going to strike out in the majors. He's going to swing and miss. There will be whiff in his game, but the power is very real. Nathan Church, solid mixer from the bottom as well. He's had a pretty good 181 plate appearances. Needs to push the on base a little bit more so he can pad the steals. What he's not right now is a good wraparound piece, but as a final guy coming into, a back end stack where you, let's say, started like here, got those 3, maybe some Jimmy Crooks. Actually, let's go. We'll do a disservice to Alec Burleson. You do have the positional conflict, by the way, with Burleson and Blaze only first base. So we'll make that choice, and we'll go to the cheaper bat down lineup that will definitely be lower owned here. We'll go Walker Nootbaar. We'll take Jimmy Crooks as the cheaper, lower owned catcher as well, and just kind of take advantage of the bottom of the lineup there. That's not bad. And then you can work Nathan Church in because he's driven the ball somewhat effectively this season. Hitting for a little bit of average, but not getting on base. So he's not going to be likely to come back around to the top because he doesn't really draw the walk. But he could clear the bases of a Blaze and a Jimmy if they're on. This is a 5-man for 16.9 total, 3,400 apiece. That's awfully cheap, and it does include Jordan Walker, Lars Nootbaar, and some talented youngsters. So not bad. Not the premium go-to version of the card stack, but not a bad way to build with them. And that buys you a very good third stack, or second stack. Buys you a very good pitcher, SP1 and SP2. Michael King, but just barely. I really don't love the way his ceiling is going to play against that price on either of those sites. Cardinals bats. Andre Palante. Padres bats. $413. We are taking our time with this one. Michael Knack says, as a Brewers fan, Pratt is legit. Love that. Kid got here in an awful hurry. Gotta like that. Meach confirming the roof is closed out in the desert. Appreciate you, Meach. Twins and Rangers. So I've mentioned this spot a few times for the upside that I'm seeing in those Rangers bats today. It's a shame there's no Corey Seager. Took a bump on the noggin. He went on the concussion list after missing a few games, just as they were getting more complete with some of these pieces back in their lineup, like Wyatt Langford. Losing Seager again sucks a little bit, but still a healthy 4.55 implied total. Going up against Zebby Matthews, who does have good stuff, can be a good pitcher. Not that it measures out currently in this form by Stuff Plus as good stuff, but does. Can be a good strikeout pitcher, but not currently at 20% over 36 and a third in his first 6 starts this season. What's really concerning about Zebby is that 12.8% barrel, because he's a fly ball pitcher. 17.4 degree average launch, 90 miles an hour of exit velo on average, giving up a 5.33% home run rate that's working wonders for some of these guys on the Rangers side of things. You can see what I was talking about, where 3 of these guys are above the magic number and then a couple other guys right in the 9s, followed by just cratering around the bottom of the lineup. There's not much power looking down there, except for one of those guys that we might talk about in a minute. I'm interested in Rangers bats going up against Zebby. It would not knock me out of my chair if Zebby went out, had a good day over 6 innings, found 7-8 strikeouts, and handled this team in their home park. This is a fairly pitcher-friendly park. This team has, by and large, been pretty bad at home this year, to the point we were targeting them just 10 days ago in this ballpark. But Zebby just hasn't been good. 3 home runs allowed, 7 earned over 6 innings against Detroit. At Detroit last time out, 4 strikeouts and a walk. 2 strikeouts, 4 walks. Didn't give up a home run. I highlighted some of this earlier. In a decent day over 7 innings, 2 earned runs on 5 hits against Kansas City. The ERA for that game was 2.57. The xFIP for that individual game was 5.72 to illustrate how lucky he got. 7 strikeouts, but 2 walks, 2 home runs allowed, 7 earned runs on 6 hits over 4 1/3 at Pittsburgh. That's the kind of day I'm seeing for the Rangers. A lot of upside for power, solid upside toward a 6-7 run total. And if we get beyond that, that's your go-to stack at a cheap price on both sides. Color me intrigued. Don't be surprised if they fail. Twins bats going up against Kumar Rocker, 67-77 for Kumar. Comes in with a sub 20% strikeout against nearly a 10% walk rate. Nothing really appealing there. Pretty lucky to be at that 3.56 ERA as indicated by the 4.41 xFIP, the 4.59 Sierra. Hasn't been too bad for power. It's a moderate launch angle, good on the barrels that he's allowing, so he's missing the combination of exit velo and launch. 43.5% hard hit, nearly 90 miles an hour of exit velo, though. There are home runs available here that he just hasn't happened to give up the proper combination to result in one. But the Twins, a guy like Byron Buxton, a guy like Cody Clemens, could fix that in a hurry. So a little bit of playability around the Twins at their 4.05 implied total. Not one of the lowest marks on a day with a lot of mid-threes. Trevor Larnach at the top of the Twins lineup, 36-29 against a below-average righty or an average righty at best. Solid upside, 359 on base. He's been a good table setter this year. There is lurking power in there somewhere. We've seen it in years past from the lefty. So 3 home runs. He's got upside for more. 330 weighted on base, just a 316 XWOB was kind of curious. A little bit of a reflection of the quality with which he's hitting. Or with which he's making contact with the ball, but it's resulted in a 108 WRC plus. He's making things work via that on base and all the walks he's drawn. So not a bad option to lead off ahead of Byron Buxton. That also totally works. Buxton's got 23 home runs, and Larnach, if he's on base for one, that'll score you some fantasy points. Cody Clemens in the next spot at 37-31 has been tremendous. 10 home runs, 6 steals, solid slash line, not spectacular slash line, but a 227 ISO, a nice 334 XWOBA, confirming what we're seeing in the 342 actual. A lot of good batted ball events that has been just his calling card over the last few seasons. Cody Clemens, good player, multi-position for a fair price on both sides. Prefer him in the outfield, but would play him at first base by necessity. Gun to my head, you have to take a first baseman from the Twins. You can make a good argument for Royce Lewis, but Cody Clemens, I think, would be my guy. Over Josh Bell, yes. Probably over Royce, especially if I could just plunk Royce into the second base spot. Cody's got eligibility at second base and third base on FanDuel. Lewis surging in his return to action. We talked about the dip down to the minor leagues, over which he found a ton of success and then was on fire when he first came back. So playable piece at over 156 plate appearances. It doesn't look good. The hope would be that maybe people pay attention to the totals and not who the player actually is. Talented enough guy at these prices. That's an asset at second base. Josh Bell's just a mixer. He's made okay contact, hasn't really seen great results for it, but any given slate, you can find that good batted ball event. Victor Caratini, kind of the same thing. You're just hunting for a cheap catcher price on a good batted ball event. We've gotten more of those in years past. This year, 4 home runs and 196 chances, pretty bad slash line, bad WRC plus. But you can see the guy that we know in that 339 XWOB under the 287 actual. So a little bit of misfortune going on for Victor Caratini. I wouldn't write him off by any means, especially not for DFS purposes. Brooks Lee, Tristan Gray, Luke Keeschel, mixers across the board. Lee kind of lucky to find those 11 home runs on basically nothing contact. He's more of a contact-focused hitter than a power bat, low strikeout, medium walk. He's not really doing those things right now either, though, so kind of lost in the shuffle here. Not a go-to option at the bottom, and neither of these guys are either. They've both been okay, but kind of substandard as far as the on-base, 87, 81 WRC plus marks, and concerning below 300 XWOBAs for both those guys. And now the talking points. We've been waiting. Jock Peterson went deep last night for his 9th home run. I mentioned I have Jock on the Dynasty team as a replacement piece and got him in the lineup today because these Rangers are going to be facing like 5 or 6 bad to gettable righties. And Zebby was on that list of targets for me this week. So love Jock's upside for another dinger here, 11.87. I was tempted to make him the home run pick of the day, but he felt too obvious and I used him fairly recently. Nice surge out of Jock up to a 126 WRC plus. Entirely believable when you get him against righties. You fire away 3,026. Still awfully cheap for being Jock Peterson. Josh Young, 39-31, their best player this year. Easy piece to reach at those prices at third base. They haven't noticed. They haven't taxed it at all. 8 home runs, solid 9.41 in the model, 45.3% hard hit. I'm looking to him more to be correlated scoring, maybe a run-scoring double type of a hitter, 361 on base to get on ahead of Wyatt Langford and Brandon Nimmo, who I want to get to for their power upside. But Young's capable of putting one in the seats as well. He's also very low strikeout, medium walk rate this year. Wyatt Langford at 3,000. 3 home runs, 4 stolen bases in his 127 chances. Ignore the rest of the line. Last year in a complete season, 22 year, got on base at a 344 clip, had a tremendous 346 XWOB under a 337 actual, created runs 18% better than average by WRC+. It's a very, very good option in the outfield, 11.53 lurking in the home run model. Brendan Nimmo, A lot of good contact this season. 9.202 in the homer model. Could be a little higher, honestly, against Zebby with the contact he's allowing. Fortunately, it's not totally small sample, so you don't only see this year's numbers. But if we were looking only at this year's numbers, guaranteed Nimmo would also be above 10. 7 homers on the board, 326 on base. He's got more ability to get on base than that, and that's somewhat evidenced by the 370 on base, xwOBA under the weighted on base. Jake Berger, solid for barrels, solid for hard hits. Fair amount of strikeouts, not enough walk in his game, but leads the team at 12.65. And the home run model player we want to get to, he's got a dozen home runs on the board. Hits the ball very, very hard. Little dip in quality around Alejandro Osuna, Ezekiel Duran, Josh Smith back in our lives. Any one of those guys can be a contributor on any given slate, as anybody who's rostered the Rangers in the past can tell you. You get multi-position like crazy out of Ezekiel Duran and Josh Smith. Duran's playing what? Every position? No. Josh Smith is playing every single position on FanDuel, except for catcher, but that's the same as first base. And Duran's available at every infield position. So much flexibility for 2 cheap players, both of whom have been seen to contribute in years past. Ezekiel Duran has been the ideal form of Ezekiel Duran throughout the bulk of those 230 plate appearances. We're going to crater at some point. 4 homers, 5 steals, a lot of run score, a lot of ribbies, 281, 332, 429. Maybe this is the year he actually does keep it up. I don't believe he will. He's got a 305 xwOBA to lead us to that conclusion under the 333 actual. But he's put together good DFS stretches just like this in years past. You don't write him off at the bottom of the lineup. He's a usable piece. Osuna, over 117 plate appearances, has got on at a 362 clip. That's not bad for correlated scoring. Very low strikeout, fairly high walk. He just doesn't hit the ball particularly hard. I kind of wish I had better bats behind him in Duran and Josh Smith. We'll see what they actually roll out there once it gets confirmed. But the home run pick of the day is behind him. Yeah, that's right. It's Kyle Higashioka. 6.82 in the home run model. Hiding down the bottom of the projected lineup. Hopefully he's in the actual lineup. I never really like picking a guy I'm not 100% sure will be in the lineup. 11% barrel out of Higgy this season, directly in line with years past where he's found success. This is a guy who, in a good year, hits 10 or 11 home runs. Had one outlier season where he hit 17 2 years ago, and then was immediately back to 11 last year. It's over 327 plate appearances, over which he hit for a 241 average and got on base at only a 291 clip. 293 xwOBA under a 301 actual, 93 WRC plus. In no world am I saying that Kyle Higashioka is anything approaching a reliable bat. There's a very likely 0 waiting for you here. But the ability to barrel a ball is very real for Higashioka, as he's demonstrated time and again over the years. And this is a pitcher who's giving up a crazy amount of barrels right now. I like the upside. Home run pick of the day. You're welcome for not taking somebody that you guys want to take in the home run picks contest. There's the year where he hit 17. Those came in only 263 plate appearances too. It's 2024. But going back in time to the Yankees days, 10 home runs in 260 chances in 2023. It was 10 home runs, I think 3 years running. 10 home runs in 248 in 2022. 10 home runs in 211 in 2021. Hit 4 in only 48 chances back in 2020 in that weird COVID year. We want to go all the way back in time. So again, Higgy, not at all reliable, not even what I'd call a good hitter, but an interesting home run bat, and kind of shows in the model a little bit down there on the leading home run team of the day. A lot of value in going to the Rangers where they're priced. All this multi-position eligibility that they've got on a couple of these guys down lineup. You don't get that as much on DK, but at least both guys fit at second base. And Josh Smith, dead min price on DraftKings. Smith only at 215, 321, 237 over 109 chances this year. Last year, he hit 10 homers, stole 12 bags, had an adequate 251, 335, 366 slash, right at league average WRC plus. Just ignore the below average by 10 points xwOBA and 9 points actual WOBA. It's a playable piece at the mid price. See if that came in while I was ranting and raving about Kyle Higashioka. Either way, I'm going Rangers bats, Twins bats, Zebby, Kumar. Don't really like either pitcher. I feel like I'm saying that quite a bit. I swear there's a couple usable pitchers on this slate somewhere. Not in this game. No, that's a lie. Cabrera, to answer the question that was going back and forth in chat earlier, wildly usable here. I have zero faith in Ecam. I picked him up in the Dynasty League right after the draft concluded this year. He didn't get drafted, which shows you the downside in a smart league. But I picked him up right away. He had a couple of okay starts. He was really good last year. He put together a good season that was kind of like, wow, he finally put things together. 3.66 ERA, 3.61 xFIP, 3.68 SIERA, everything right in line with what it looks like. Struck out 25.5%, walked only 7.7, which was the big uptick for him. Year before he had walked 12, year before that 15.2. Despite finding the strikeout those years, he was bad. 4.95 ERA, had a 3.94 xFIP that was a good indicator that this was, coming though, and really delivered on that promise. Swinging strike rate was 12.5% last year. This year, it's still 12%, but he's dipped from 25.5 to 21.6% strikeouts. The walks have gone up a little bit, not to this kind of territory, fortunately, but he's been erratic. 4.86 ERA. He does have a 3.87 xFIP. That's kind of more in line with this guy and with that guy. 4.14 SIERA, a little bit off. 3.68 last year. SIERA is a slightly better indicator than xFIP, and a good tiebreaker there is that strikeout minus walk that I talk about all the time, which is 13%. We want 20 for an ace. That's off the mark pretty aggressively. Last year it was 17.9. There's a lot more showing. This jibes well with those. Would not surprise me at all if ECAT came out and had a day, though. 85-81 to face the Colorado Rockies with some strikeout available. Low-end team. It makes some sense. The wind is blowing out at Wrigley. The Rockies come in at a 4+ implied total. They're not a good team for walks, but there's a few guys in this lineup that are drawing, at least 9% walk rates, a couple guys creeping into the double digits. So you could see a few extra base runners than normal expectation for the Rockies. A little bit of sequencing leads to a long ball from a guy like Hunter Goodman that we know can hit him. He's got 20 on the season. You're dealing with some immediate downside for the Cabrera shares. So in no way is it safe, but he's very, very usable, and he projects like that. He's got some ceiling on those numbers, and that's a fair price. Ryan Feltner, I just don't think we use. 17% strikeout. Does have a 10.1% swinging, but there's so many barrels, so many hard hits, a 4% home run rate, nothing as far as any of the plus factors. Below average significantly across all three. It's just who he is. 5.20 ERA, 4.57 xFIP, 4.72 SIERA. To face the Cubbies with a 5.5 run total with the wind blowing out, just doesn't feel right. If you go on Rockies bats, Jake McCarthy, a mixer at the top of the lineup, hitting for average, getting on base at about league average type clip, has a 309 xWOBA, has a 98 WRC plus so far in the 197 plate appearances this year. Doesn't hit the ball particularly hard. Maybe scratches out a base hit. Not a big time walk piece to have in the leadoff spot either. Willie Castro would actually make a little bit more sense because he walks a little bit more. He also strikes out more, but he's a similar contact type guy with a better on base percentage, and he's in no way a two-hitter. So that's a weird decision on Willie. I would have led Willie off. He's a switch hitter too, so you could just keep him in that spot. And it's a weird way to build this lineup. But anyway, Willie's playable at those prices. He's more of a utility guy than he is like a star, though, so don't be misled. 43.29 for TJ Rumfield. Little bit of ability to drive the ball off that 6.3% barrel, but inconsistent 33.2% hard hit rate. 9 home runs, a very good 356 on base. He's drawn a 9.6% walk, and he's been very good at limiting strikeout. So you're getting some balls in play. You're getting some success via BABIP, and then he's drawing some walks around the edges. 324 xWOBA reveals a little of the overperformance against that 358 actual, though. I think some of the success with BABIP probably starts to diminish and fall off, and he doesn't look quite as good a few weeks from now. But he's a playable piece if you're going to the Rockies. He's a lefty bat, so he can take advantage of the wind blowing out to right against Cabrera, who's given up a 12.8% barrel, 42.2% hard hits, a ridiculous 4.83% home run rate. He's been very vulnerable to power this year. So don't write off the big-time lefty, or the potential for him to be a big-time lefty bat, I should say, today. And don't write off the other lefty here in Troy Johnston, and Colt Carrig, who's shown some power as a switch hitter. So you got a little bit of lefty pop lurking in this lineup. And then the big righty in Hunter Goodman, 52.38, appropriately priced for a guy with 20 homers. 329 xWOBA continues to show the overperformance in all things not home runs, but the home runs are very, very real. So is the premium contact. So not a outlier as far as that goes. Perfectly worthwhile if you're going Rockies already. He's the linchpin. Johnston, I mentioned, doesn't particularly hit the ball hard, but he's another low strikeout, medium walk guy. Fair number of balls in play. A lot of success for on base, again, via BABIP primarily so far. But that's a playable piece from the left side with the wind blowing out if you're going Rockies. Carrick is interesting, blazingly fast. 3 home runs on the board in just 30 plate appearances. Made some interesting contact on his promotion to the show. We'll see where it goes. But I'm interested for the cheap price for the stolen base upside. Switch hitter. Interesting enough option to fill out a Rockies stack. Not really a reason to go to the Rockies, though. Loosely in mind as a affordable one-off, I guess. Brett Sullivan, just a mix and match piece at catcher. Ezekiel Tovar continues to be overrated in general and is just having a poor season. 5 home runs, 4 steals. Every now and then he can get good wood on the ball, though. 8.2% barrel this year, 9+% each of the last 2 years. Just too much swing and miss in his game, as I always say. And then Eddie Julian at the bottom of the lineup. Very high walk rate at 12.4%, kind of in line with previous seasons. A lot of strikeout in his game. Fairly high hard hit rate at 50.9%, just finding no success for it. I talked about this just the other day. Don't be surprised if he has a sudden surge and is sitting at just better numbers across the board. A lot of usability there, but just not a lot of good output so far. You can see that in the 340 xWOBA under that 292 actual. Cubbies, PCA, one of the league leaders in Fangraphs WAR, killing it, 56-37. Prices up, commensurate with the performance. 13 homers, 16 stolen bases, 351 on base. He's been fantastic. Back in his leadoff role. Love the option if you're going Cubs. Big time lefty power to throw at Ryan Feltner. Alex Bregman, 42-29 at worst. He's a good on-base option. Good line drive hitter who doesn't strike out, who draws a ton of walks. Could give a guy like Feltner fits. Michael Busch, we've talked about the lack of power output this season, but how everything else is pretty much intact, that he's pushed walks up the board. He's getting on base a lot. That's still a really good option. And I'm a believer that we get the power back at some point. 11.6% barrel, 43.4% hard hit. Those are good numbers in a vacuum. It's just down from a 17.1% barrel and all that home run output that he had last year. Seiya Suzuki, another guy who put great wood on the ball, 10 home runs in 241 plate appearances. 340 on base. All these Cubs get on base like crazy. Ian Happ at 43-34, differently priced across sites. DraftKings overreacting maybe to the low batting average, 219, 331, 469, 16 home runs. Getting on base like crazy, creating runs like crazy. A lot of power for the switch hitter. I really like Ian Happ at 43 on DK. No issues with him at 34 on FanDuel. Those are different prices against the relative caps, though. Nico has gotten very cheap, 4,100, 3,100. Along with the struggles, that price has come way, way down. 322 uncharacteristically low-end plate appearances at 237, 317, 332. A little bit of a contract extension hangover for Nico. He'll turn it back on at some point. Any given slate upside for sure at second base. Conforto having a very good year in terms of premium contact in a limited number of batted ball events. Don't sleep on those numbers from the lefty. 114 plate appearances. He's found 4 home runs. He's gotten on base at a good clip. 216 ISO. Excellent in terms of the short sample. 341, 349 weighted on base in xWOBA. Last year, he hit 12 home runs. 486 very bad plate appearances otherwise. Was completely lost last year. 20 homers, a 309 on base over 488 going back in time with a 112 WRC plus. 15 homers, but a 334 on base over 470 chances to illustrate my point, which is going to be that Michael Conforto knows how to get on base and knows how to hit for left-handed power. That's an interesting option to throw at Ryan Feltner, and he will be, I guarantee you, the lowest owned of these 4 outfielders in this projected Cubs lineup. Carson Kelly, solid mixer. You pick off the occasional piece of power. He's also hitting for average, getting on base over 189 this year. He's been downright interesting. Low strikeout, medium walk rate. Very good option for 31 at catcher on DraftKings. 26, more of a mixer on FanDuel. I'd say higher priority on DK for sure. Dansby going through it this year pretty badly. 176, 283, 08. Still getting elite defense, fortunately. 7 home runs, 6 stolen bases. Terrible 69 WRC plus. Where have you gone, Dansby Swanson? And will you be back? That's the question. Would still go to him in like my 3rd, 4th Cubs build somewhere along there, but probably gets clipped out of the first one given a lot of good shortstops on the slate. Cubs bats. I'll give you Eddie Cabrera just because he's good enough to beat this Rockies team, and we haven't named a lot of pitchers in good spots. So Cubbies, ECAB, Rockies, don't play Feltner. 5 games to go, right? Woo. There's nothing under the Rays, right? Yeah. Tigers, Stros, talked about the impact that Framber's having on the Astros numbers. We talk about that every time with Framber because he is just a very good, even in a year this year where launch is up a little bit and he's technically struggled a little for him with power. He's still only at a 2.65% home run rate. Last year, kept hitters to a 1.87% home run rate. Murder. On a 2.7 degree average launch. I know that because of the Samuel Jackson movie. 1.85% home runs back in 2024 on a 0.4 degree average launch. So the launch angle has crept up dramatically, but it's still a pitcher who's good at keeping the ball in the yard. So a lot of historic impact, a lot of ongoing impact for Framber on his former teammates here. That is not to say that Jordan Alvarez couldn't find a ball to get under and put into the seats. 8.55 does lead the team in the home run model today. Framber is otherwise struggling, not pitching to form. 4.40 ERA, matching xFIP and Sierra. Just a 9.41 strikeout minus walk rate to really ram that point home. 17.9% strikeouts is down. Walks at 8.5% is right in line with last year, but he's lost quality. 23.3 last year for strikeouts. Year before was 24%. Need to find that form again. I have enough faith in Framber that at these low prices at 77, at 74, I would use Framber. I plan to on FanDuel. When things are going to plan, he's one of the better pitchers at pitching deep into ball games. With his struggles this year, we've gotten some more short outings. Last 2 starts, 5 innings apiece. Start before that, though, 6 2/3, more representative, even though he gave up 4 earned runs, gave up a homer, only struck out 4. At least he got through 6 2/3. That was at the White Sox. 6 good innings against Baltimore. Only 1 earned run on 2 hits, one of his better recent starts. 6 2/3, 6 innings, 7 innings going back in time, a couple 6-inning games. We haven't seen the peak form Framber where we get a stretch of just 7 innings or better in a handful of starts in a row. But he's got that upside. And if he finds form, even against a good Astros team that's drawing a 4.89 implied total that I'm not ignoring, at these prices, even if he is limited for strikeout again, gives you 4, maybe 5. If we get the 7 pitch into the 8th inning version of Framber, he's very playable at those numbers. Maybe lacks a little ceiling by comparison, but I think makes up for it in price and probably going to make up for it in popularity. I don't think people fully trust this version of Framber Valdez, so I'm more intrigued maybe than the public might be. Hunter Brown on the other side mentioned just really concerned about that price. He's fantastic. He's well worth that price under normal circumstances, but I think we're probably just getting 5 innings, and thank you very much. You've got a dangerous Tigers lineup that does hit the ball hard. There's plenty of strikeout here for him. This team's striking out 1 4 right now for this projected lineup. 2 starts this year, he was striking out nearly 40%, but I don't think we can count that. Last year, 28.3 over 31 starts, though. Very, very good. Pitched to a 2.43 ERA, 3.19 xFIP, 3.39 Sierra. This is an ace. 20.4% 20.4 strikeout minus walk. You can see how far above average for stuff plus he was. You can see how terrific he was at inducing weak and medium contact while keeping the ball to an average, adequate, perfectly fine kind of trajectory. Those words mean the same thing. I just think for 5 innings, even if he goes out, honestly, on a day like this, finds a good, healthy strikeout number, it's challenging at those prices. And if they put a couple runs on the board against, if he finds his path to not being in line for a win, let's say, certainly a quality start is unlikely on FanDuel at 10-6. Good as he is, I don't think we're getting a completed 6th inning. Feels dangerous for those prices. I think he's going to be a little even too popular at those prices. Maybe not. Maybe there's enough warning out there, but just feels like a misfit situation for Hunter Brown, good as he might be. Tigers bats against. They're in the mix. 3.71 implied total certainly knocks him down a peg. Facing Hunter Brown knocks him down even further. But you do still have some good bats through here. Some guys I have trouble not at least considering with all the power available, all the barrels, the hard hit rates for 4 of those guys. Double-digit barrel rates, mid-40s and above hard hit rates. Gleyber Torres got injured again, so he won't be in the lineup, but you still get McGonigal off the top. Tremendous catcher option in Dylan Dingler. Kerry Carpenter's only 4,200. He's hit 9 home runs and 157 plate appearances. Crushing baseballs when he makes contact. Premium lefty bat. Riley Green's their best hitter. 8 home runs and a little bit of a slowdown for power output, but he's been tremendous across the slash line. 136 WRC plus. Colt Keith, we talked about his recent surge and how good he actually is and how he's able to make very good contact. He only cost $2,700 on DraftKings. Third base. $2,300 is a bargain for Colt Keith's talent on FanDuel. Torque, major power upside from the right side. He's hit 12 home runs and 275 chances with major marks for premium contact. McKinstry, Wenzel Perez, and a guy I meant to mention yesterday, but I think I forgot to, James Outman on this team now. Mix and match guys down bottom, but we've found success for DFS from every one of those three guys here and there. Right now, they're all sub Mendoza. Not really a talking point down there. Wensil, 7 oddball home runs and 171 plate appearances. That's what you hunt for with Wensil. McKinstry, you're hunting more for 2 base hits and a couple runs scored. James Outman, a lot of power and stolen base upside that hasn't been on display for 3 lost seasons now. Played himself out of Minnesota. He was so bad, over 70 some odd plate appearances. That's an interesting piece. He's been getting a couple opportunities in his first few games in Detroit here as the center fielder. So I'm intrigued by James Outman's skill set. Going back in time again, if you haven't been here in the past, way back in 2023, a full season with the Dodgers, 23 home runs, 16 stolen bases, 353 on base, 118 WRC plus. You can't do that without having at least a modicum of talent in the show. On the Astros side, they're the more appealing team because they're facing a diminished version of Framber, but I'm surprised by that 489 implied total, honestly. Framber's better than he's been this year. Even in his struggles, he hasn't been completely bad. His xFIP, Sierra, ERA all beat that 489 pretty handily. It's just a good Astros squad. But there's a little strikeout available, 22% for this confirmed version of the lineup. I don't hate the chances for Framber to go out and have a good day. Certainly knows how to pitch on this mound as well. Jeremy Pena, 45-32, though. Good mixer from the right side. Reasonable upside for a 15 home run type of a total, even with some missed time this season. 3 home runs, 5 steals on the year. Just getting on base. Good table setter ahead of Jordan Alvarez, one of the best spots to hit in all of baseball. Christian Walker's got tons of power upside. He's at 18 to Jordan's 24. Love going back to Alvarez for a home run today. 434 on base percentage, a 194 WRC plus. He's just outrageously good. Everybody else in this lineup gets cheap. Does nice things for the combinations. Isaac Paredes, good home run target in this ballpark, 10 on the season. Did he hit one last night? I feel like that was 9 yesterday. 341 on base, even when he's not homering. Low strikeout, decent walk, reasonable piece for correlated scoring. You get Jainer Diaz back in the lineup, by the way. Jose Altuve hitting ahead of him. Either one of those guys has the ability to go deep. Either one of those guys has the ability to hit for a little bit of average, get on base, stir the pot a little for this team. Neither guy has been overly consistent. Got a lot of missed time for Jainer Diaz this season, 238, 255, 347. Start to his year, 2 home runs. This is a guy who, in a diminished year last year, still hit 20 homers, 256, 284, 417, betrayed his usual consistency. Year before, 16 home runs, 299, 325, 441 in 619 plate appearances. What I love about Jainer Diaz, especially for season long, is that he's a play every single day catcher. He's just out there when things are going right. So you succeed on volume. He's very low strikeout, low walk. So you succeed on volume of balls in play. Last year, 9.3% barrel and 42% hard hits to go with a 16.8 and 3.5% strikeout and walk rate. Year before, 7.6% barrels, 46.9% hard hits when he was a little bit better to go with 17.3 and 3.9. This is a catcher with some power, the ability to hit for average, the ability to limit Ks and at least put the ball in play. So getting the on base out of Isaac Paredes, running into Jose Altuve, who we know very well can do things out there, and then an interesting Jainer Diaz, who people are going to sleep on. Even people going to the Astros, I guarantee, are not thinking about Jainer Diaz as his first day back. That's an intriguing piece at 3,300 a catcher on DraftKings. Playable piece, but I don't want to sacrifice Christian Walker for him on FanDuel all that often. Cam Smith, a lot of barrels, a lot of hard hits, wildly inconsistent, but 7 home runs and 8 steals is at least okay for counting stats here and there. Should be giving us some more on base with his ability to draw the walk, but has not really been. 302 on base, impacted a little bit by lack of success on batted ball events. 336 xWOBA reflects that under that 296 actual. There's a good player lurking there. That's an interesting piece at 3,028 in the outfield. Bryce Matthews and Reinel Delgado, mix and match pieces down the bottom of the lineup. Give Reinel a quick look here. Speedster. All right. Reinel Gonzalez was with Tampa for the beginning of the season. 253 plate appearances with Tampa's AAA organization. 3 home runs, 24 steals this year. 253, 2362 slash line. Just a 312 WOBA and 313 xWOBA. So a little bit lucky and just a 78 WRC plus. little bit oddball stats there, but the speed is at least real. Last year in AAA with the Brewers organization, 5 homers, 40 steals across 474 plate appearances. That's as a 25-year-old. He's aged up a little bit. So you're probably dealing with like a quad A talent with some speed, if we're telling the truth. But there's at least some interesting numbers. AAA the year before with the Guardians organization, 9 homers, 22 steals, draws walks. We'll see what it looks like in the show. Maybe you throw a dart at him as like a wraparound guy. I'd be a little bit skeptical about the on base fully being delivered, but there's maybe a skill set there for that. He's the dead min price at third. I don't love him at short on FanDuel, especially with some better shortstop options in the next batting spot in the batting order. So probably DraftKings only, and probably a very low priority option, even if you're going to the Astros. I'd say this is, to be fair to that Vegas total, we'll go Astros bats. Cheap Framber Valdez, even though it's a low faith play right now for a lot of us. I have difficulty putting Hunter Brown in here at all. I really do. I kind of want to say Tigers, and then Hunter Brown's too expensive for what he's likely to pitch here. I hope everybody understands on talent, it's Hunter Brown way up top, but I just don't think he's going to have the full run today. If you get him for 6, you're in business. I think you're getting 5. So Hunter Brown, Tigers bats, call it a tie. For the innings that Brown's in, the Tigers don't look good. Pirates, Athletics, Sutter Field. Fortunately, we're at least not in Vegas. That ballpark is outrageous. But this ballpark plays up offense pretty well too. Mitch Keller, probably in a lot of trouble here. Jack Perkins, almost certainly in a lot of trouble here. Perkins pushing a little bit more power toward his opponent. Most of that resides in Brendan Lau and Brian Reynolds. You can see the Pirates are another good example of what I talked about, where 2 standouts, a couple average guys, and then a little bit of a dip that brings them down in the full lineup to a 7.53 that maybe not look like, Sutter Field's a great spot for power. Well, it's a good number. It's higher than many of the teams on the board. But it does have a little bit of an average impact as we go down through the Jake Mangums and Jared Triolos of the world. Same thing somewhat in play on the Athletics. Power-packed as they can be. Kurtz well above the magic number. Shea Langoliers as well. Tyler Soderstrom just slipping below it. And then just some more moderate numbers. These are healthy for who Zach Geloff and Lawrence Butler are right now, but they're not standout numbers on the board at large when we're hunting for 10. And part of the impact there, as I referred to at the very beginning of the show, is just Mitch Keller and his demonstrable ability to keep the ball in the yard over the years. So far this year in 14 starts, just a 1.82% home run rate allowed. Comes on reasonable premium contact number, a better average exit velo, 6.7% barrel, a manageable 12.9 degree average launch. Similar numbers last year, 2.80% home runs. Year before, I believe, was 298 on similar contact. Year before that, 303. So these are not, absolutely elite, take everything away from the A's type of power limitation numbers. But those are good marks. When 4 is a problem and above 3 is where you start talking about this guy's on his way to maybe being a problem. Mitch Keller, as crazy erratic as he can be, doesn't really have that issue. 17.6% strikeouts with an 8.2% walk. Obviously doesn't play. 9.42 strikeout minus walk. He's also pitched to a 5.14 ERA, a 4.41 xFIP. He's entirely targetable, and the A's are the top-ranked stack on the day with plenty of power showing. And Sutter Field on their side. Every reason in the world to target Mitch Keller. I'm just trying to explain my way through why these might not be as high as some people thought they should be. Take that, straw man. I don't think you go to either of the pitchers. 65 even on DraftKings. 5,000 for Perkins. Dicey. He does have a little strikeout in the game. 36 innings on the season. 2 starts, converting him into full start. Here, let me close some of these windows. Last time out, full start, went 4. Gave up 3 earned runs, struck out 4, walked 3, 2 home runs allowed. Went 4 in the start before that, 5 earned runs on 5 hits. That was against Houston at Houston. The other one was against the Brewers. 5 earned runs on the to 19 hitters on 5 hits. Home run allowed, struck out 6 and walked 2. Had a 7 strikeout day over 4 2/3 in bulk relief against Seattle back on May 25th. Overall, though, you're seeing a lot of impact in terms of strikeout rate from just pure relief performances, an inning and 2/3, etc., with a couple few strikeouts. I think he is a good strikeout pitcher, as evidenced by that 13.7% swinging strike rate. Just got to see what it's going to look like in full starter form in the ongoing sense. So far, a little bit diminished rate-wise in those two starts. 6.25 ERA on the season, ugly. 3.97 xFIP, but this ballpark working against him. Some tremendous Pirates bats working against him. Still no O'Neal Cruz, though, is a diminishment for the Pirates. They do come in at 5+ implied runs, though. It's bats on either side of this one. Spencer Horwitz, player we've talked about throughout the season, 281, 383, 452. Very, very good table setter, if nothing else. A lot of walk, limited strikeouts, the ability to drive the ball from time to time, 9 home runs on the board, but just as a table setter ahead of Brandon Lau, who's one of the more likely home run bats at 14.99 in the model today. Another guy I considered taking, but I've used him before in the season and kind of staring us in the face in this ballpark. I don't love going to this ballpark for the home run pick, kind of like I don't use Coors by rule. I don't use this one all that frequently. 17 home runs on the season from Lau, though. Just one of the better bats at second base, full stop. Brian Reynolds reclaimed his talent this year. 8 home runs, 5 steals, a 394 on base is tremendous. 370 matching weighted on base, and xWOBA 135 WRC plus. Ryan O'Hearn, very good piece for 51.32. That's usable. Price is not ideal, having him above 5,000 as Lau and Reynolds also are. It's usable, but it's getting up there a little bit. He's been good, though. He's earned it. It's not his fault. 10 home runs on the board, 275, 344, 45, a 117 WRC plus. You can see a bit of the overperformance in that 326 xWOBA versus the actual. These two guys are more realistic, and Ryan O'Hearn just is pretty good and has been pretty good this year with better surface numbers. But the guy who's more pretty good than very good is going to eventually come back around, and then that 51 would be a little bit high price. 32, kind of the same deal. Nick Gonzalez, a lot of success on BABIP this season, limiting strikeout, limiting walks, so a lot of balls in play. Just needs to continue finding his way to first base before the ball does. 100 WRC plus on the season, but noteworthy 331 xWOB under that 320 actual. Kind of the inverse of what you would expect for a guy who's found success on batting average on balls in play. Kind of suggestive that he could keep it up as well. So that's an interesting enough piece for the pricing. 44 has gone up somewhat. 29's also gone up a little bit. Second base eligible, though. He's at least usable. Tyler Callahan has found some interesting batted ball events. A pair of home runs and 34 plate appearances. Was a little bit buzzy in deeper leagues as a pickup this week. Might be somebody that people take note of at the cheap pricing. Third base on FanDuel, on DraftKings, second base on FanDuel. Technically 100% better than league average right now at run creation over his 34 plate appearances. Jake Mangum's a quad A, totally skippable, but mix and match type talent. Jared Triolo, Henry Davis are interesting down lineup. Triolo can find some success on batted balls. And then Henry Davis has a little bit of lurking power, 11% plus barrels this year. Same thing last year, 6.81, not completely off the board for a cheap catcher home run at the bottom of the lineup. Also has outfield on FanDuel. 5 home runs and 145 otherwise. Completely lost plate appearances this year. On the A's side, Nick Kurtz at the top of the A's lineup, 63, 44, not unfairly priced, up to 18 home runs. He suddenly tied with Shea Langoliers for the team lead after that double dong yesterday. Kid's just absolutely insane. Everything we saw last year is entirely real. He's pushed his walk rate up to 20.6% this year, getting on at a 443 clip. What can't he do? Shea Langoliers, tremendous improvement across the line in his game as well. 18 homers, fantastic season for Shea Langoliers. They're difficult to reach at the prices, putting them together just as a two-man for 12-3 on DraftKings. They're entirely worth it in this ballpark. We could see another multi-home run day, several home runs out of just those two players. Soderstrom's got very good power as well, in line with maybe slightly less than Langoliers, certainly not Kurtz, but next man up from this version of the lineup. 10.9% barrel, 12 home runs and 291 chances. The consistency, the quality, I think will come around a little bit more. He is getting on base at a good 337 clip. He's a better even overall hitter than some of that slash line might indicate. 18.2% strikeout, down pretty significantly from 22.6 last year, 24.9 the year before. So some improvements going on with Soderstrom. Jake Wilson, excellent hit tool-based shortstop. Miscast probably if he's hitting cleanup in the confirmed version of the lineup. I'd rather have him ahead of the true power bats, but is what it is. Hit tool kind of guys the on-base skills can come and go depending on BABIP, but that's a reasonable piece to fill out the position at a cheap price and round off a full stack of athletics. I kind of prefer Carlos Cortez, maybe some Zach Geloff for their power upside, a little bit of speed for Zach Geloff as well, 9 homers, 7 steals for the former 2020 guy, having a good year in his return to form. Up to 5,000 though on DraftKings is noteworthy, 32 on FanDuel, second base eligible on both sites, negates a little price concern. And Cortez has found the bat at ball events in 195 plate appearances. 6 home runs, not a bad total. Hitting for a good average, getting on base like crazy, creating runs, and a lot of it seems like it's been real. We'll give it more time to grow, but 43.29, that's a good player for a good price in the middle of the lineup. Lawrence Butler, another former 2020 guy, kind of buried down lineup for a very cheap price. I had a few Lawrence Butler shares yesterday that just popped into lineups because he's 26 on FanDuel, which kind of makes things work. Henry Bolte has similar skill set for a little bit of power and a fair amount of speed with some on-base skills, over 105 plate appearances. He's been downright interesting, 400 on base so far, home run, 5 stolen bases. You can see the overperformance in a 282 XWOB against the 366 actual, but the kid's good. A lot of prospect pedigree there. I wouldn't expect tons of home runs, but a little ability to drive the ball, more a hard hit rate guy than a barrel rate guy. Jeff McNeil went deep yesterday. You get the occasional oddball home run from Jeff McNeil, but he's more of a slap hitter and fairly low-end one at that. A's bats, Pirates bats. I'm going to honestly say cheaper Jack Perkins if you had to go to a pitcher here. I have no faith in Keller for the higher prices going up against the better lineup at the higher total. So even though they project both poorly and Keller slightly above, I would say Perkins for cheaper over Keller. I wouldn't expect any kind of ceiling on either of these pitchers. I think I can. All right, it's 106 degrees out in the desert, so it's good news that the roof is actually closed. That said, we still can go to some bats in this game. 4.33 implied on the D-back side, 4.27 on the Angels side. I'm intrigued by the Angels with 3 guys above the magic number for power. They're the 3 obvious ones in Neto, Trout, and Adele, and some reasonable quality pieces around the edges going up against Merrill Kelly, who's been scuffling this season. 13.5% strikeouts against a 9.6% walk. Pitched to a 5.46 ERA, 5.35 xFIP, and fairly matching Sierra. He's been bad. He was good last year. Merrill Kelly was a piece for me as a dollar pitcher in the Dynasty League last year because he struck out 22.3% of hitters. Went deep into a number of ball games, 184 innings and 32 starts in modern times is nothing to sneeze at. 3.52 ERA, 3.81 xFIP, 3.95 Sierra. So decent numbers. You can see the approaching 4-run guy that he actually is in those under the surface numbers last year, but he's not a mid-fives type run guy either. So some overperformance for sure last year, but this number's a lot closer to those than anything is to those. This is an outlier bad on Kelly. That's not to say that the ERA is incorrect or that it's representative of things that he's not controlling. Everything that he's controlling is led directly to that ERA. So everything that's going on is his fault based on how he's pitching. But he can pitch better than he's been pitching, I guess is the prevailing point here. Way over the line for barrels on a fly ball trajectory. Over the line significantly on hard hits. At the emergency line for exit velo. 4.61% home runs. Better believe that's very real right now. Last year, 3.07. And the numbers weren't crazy dissimilar. So again, just some misfortune, some reality creeping into the mix for Merrill Kelly. Leads us to very believable upside for Angels bats. 6,900 on Kelly on a good day against a team that can push some strikeout. He's a dart. He's a low-end dart in your quiver that if you reach back there, it's probably upside down and you just stab the arrowhead through your, or the dart tip through your hand rather than getting any quality out of it. But he is there at a cheap price. 75 on FanDuel. I don't think we need it. It's a deep enough slate for pitching, for mediocre pitching options that you probably don't need it. Reed Detmers is an asset on this slate. 87, 98. My hope is that the situation, the ballpark, the opposing team being decent, that opposing run total, and those prices keep people off Reed Detmers because he's been tremendous this year. Look at the numbers just right there across all 3 of the plus categories. Way above average locator, way above average pitching plus with significantly above average stuff. Reed Detmers, I almost said Merrill Kelly. Reed Detmers is very good. 12.5% swinging strike rate, leading to a 29% strikeout rate. Throwing 81 innings and 14 starts, working deep into ball games with regularity. 3.47 xFIP, 3.27 Sierra. That ERA was skewed a little bit by a couple bad ones along the way. 5 earned runs in 4 1/3 to Atlanta, back all the way on April 8th. 4 earned runs to Toronto, but pitched 6 innings that day. 8 earned runs in his most recent bad start was on May 19th against the Athletics in Los Angeles. 5 2/3, 8 earned runs, his worst start of the year. Struck out 8, walked 2, no home run allowed, oddly, in that output. So just a lot of happenstance working against him in that one. To put the point on that, for that game, his worst game of the year, had a 12.71 ERA. The xFIP for that game was 3.68. The FIP, the actual FIP for that game, was 1.33. So a lot of what happened there was not his fault. And that was his bad start. And that's what's skewing that ERA on us. Since that start, he's allowed 5 earned runs total in the 4 starts since that game. That includes a 14 strikeout, 1 run day, 1 hit on 1 run. It came on a solo shot against the Rangers over 8 innings. Worked 5 in the next one. Did give up 3 earned runs, including a homer in that one. 7 strikeout day. Was just okay against the Rays. Followed that one up with an elite game against the Dodgers. 6 innings of shutout ball. 2 hits, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Followed that one with 7 great innings against the Astros. 1 hit them. 1 earned run on again, a solo homer. Struck out 9, walked 0. Monster upside for that sort of a day against honestly, Diamondbacks team that has 3 or 4 good bats and some overperformers in it. Some young kids maybe with a little bit of talent up and coming, like a Jordan Lawler down lineup. But some overperformers for sure. I like this spot for Detmers. I hope he goes under-owned. Angels bats, Neto, Trout, again, Adele. Everybody's massive for power upside. Adele's into the double digits. We're at 10 home runs now. The power surging a little bit. 338 xWOBA lurking under that 310 actual. He's just way better than he's been overall this season. 94 WRC plus. The power is going to keep on coming. Major source of upside for batted ball events. 17.2% barrels. Basically cut in half so far this year. That's going to get back up into the double digits as time goes on. Speaking of double digit barrel rates, Mike Trout is at 21%. That's pretty good. 16 homers on the season. Also a 393 on base. 411 xWOBA under his outrageously good 372 actual. So a lot more to come from Mike Trout potentially. 136 WRC plus. Still looking a lot like Mike Trout. Neto makes great contact, strikes out a fair amount, draws a decent walk rate to offset that a little bit. Very good option at shortstop, who should be hitting for a better average, getting on base a little bit more than he is right now. 5,035 when everybody else outside of Mike Trout in this lineup is downright cheap. Makes him very playable. Wade Meckler, we've talked about a little bit. Interesting for some hit tools, some on-base skills. Has 2 home runs and 2 stolen bases in limited plate appearances in the show so far, but they come on nothing contact. I don't think he's miscast if he's in the 3 spot, but honestly, I'd kind of like to get him ahead of Neto and Trout and get the upside for correlated scoring out of him there. Right now, ahead of Joe Adele, you get it, and if Trout clears the bases, then you're resetting the table for Joe Adele, which works. That's the theory here. He's better than Nolan Schanuel for what he's supposed to be doing out there. But I do kind of long for having the upside ahead of those bats. Maybe it should be like and this is still the projected version, but like a Meckler, Trout, Schanuel, Neto, Adele, or Adele Neto combination. So you still get the table reset with a good on base and hit tool guy in Nolan Schanuel, who's been only okay at those things this year in the 3 spot. You move the guy who's been better at those things into the leadoff. You still get Trout in the 2, and then you have the traditional cleanup 5 spots for power hitting behind the more traditional 3 hitter. I think that's how I would configure this lineup, but nobody's asking. Schanuel's playable, but fairly low end overall because, again, it's correlated scoring, and now you're getting him into Denzer Guzman, who's okay at 2,823 for DFS purposes, but lacks real upside and hasn't really found anything in 26 opportunities in the show so far. Logan O'Hoppe, we've seen hit for real power in years past. Right now, 167 pretty bad plate appearances. Does have a 12.5% barrel rate with 3 home runs on the year. Don't write him off, but it's a little bit less than likely. So Schanuel's now setting the table for guys who might not be eating. Donovan Walton, mix and match piece. Ozzy Perasa's been interesting. That's maybe a potential wraparound guy to keep in mind. Or maybe if you're looking toward the bottom of the lineup, you could use Ozzy to clear the bases. 37-25, mix and match across multiple infield positions. He's been a part-time player for most of the season, seen 224 plate appearances overall, 260, 309, 423, a 102 WRC plus. just around league average actual WOBA with a 308 xWOBA under the surface, betraying a little bit of the quality we've seen. But as I've talked about throughout, this is another one of these Angels just trying to execute their reclamation projects. But also was once upon a time a very high-end prospect for the New York Yankees, found his way out here and has found some success. So playable piece if he's in the lineup. I would consider some Diamondbacks against Reed Detmers, particularly in a large portfolio of lineups. If you're taking a lot of Detmers in your pitching shares, you could offset that with a few hedge stacks. Not that he's bad, not that he demands it, but the Diamondbacks have been good against righties this year. This is a hitter-friendly park, so that's working in their favor. 4.33 implied totals also working in their favor. So a few Diamondback stacks in amongst a abundance of Reed Detmer shares definitely makes some sense. Ketel Marte at 53 at 35. Reasonable season so far with plenty of upside to come. 369 xWOBA under that 325 actual, but at least he's pulled things together. 104 WRC plus. Speaking of pulling things together, Jerry Perdomo up to 356 on base. 105 WRC plus in with all the struggles. Starting to see something. 339 xWOBA under that 326 actual. 11 stolen bases to go with all that on base. At worst, that's always been his skill set. Last year, we saw a little outburst for power, getting over 20 home runs on better contact than he's making this year. This year's guy is more like the previous seasons, where he was getting on base very reliably, but a lighter contact guy. Doesn't really make sense to have him in the 2 spot. That should be probably Corbin Carroll's spot, but top of the lineup, he should be up there. Honestly, it should probably be Perdomo, Marte, Carroll, or Perdomo, Carroll, Marte, however you wanted to do that. But get his on-base skills ahead of the key run driver inners. Corbin Carroll, perfectly fine pricing, dozen home runs, 9 steals, 368 on base, their best player. Easy, no-brainer if you're going to this team. And a lefty bat to throw at the lefty. I don't really worry about that. What's Carroll doing lefty-lefty? Players as good as this, I typically don't sweat splits that much, but let me look. Oh, he's been good same-handed this year. Wow, has he been good same-handed? Was he this good same-handed in the run-up? Let's see. What's the career? Come on, Fangraphs. There we go. So for the career, he's been very good against same-handed pitching. The slash line is essentially the same as he puts up, just with a little bit less power against righties, a little bit less run creation, lighter WOBA, 341 actual WOBA against same-handed for the career, 367 against righties because he's just really, really good. But easily holds his own against same-handed pitching. And this season, in what is only 96 plate appearances against same-handed pitching, he's slashing 400, 458, 659, has a 206 WRC plus. 2 of his 12 home runs have come against same-handed and a ton of run creation. So kind of defying the career norms, which have been very good against same-handed. Fire away with Corbin Carroll, even against a very, very good lefty, if you're going Diamondbacks, but I still continue to prefer Reed Detmers. But again, that's part of the equation with why these Diamondbacks have been so good against lefties this year. Gabby Moreno at 37 remains incredibly cheap for a catcher who's hitting the ball squarely. 6 home runs, 4 steals, and 188 plate appearances. Not bad pace for counting stats. 264, 346, 442. Very, very good at getting on base. 346 weighted on base and a 364 xWOBA under the surface. Take advantage now because Gabby Moreno's price is eventually going to go up where you have to have the catcher position. I don't know why it hasn't already. They've been slow to raise pricing on some of our go-to catcher bats. Lourdes Gurriel back in the lineup, 32-25, mix and match piece in the outfield with more talent than that, at least for line drives, limiting strikeouts, just succeeding on balls in play. Nolan Arenado's back to being cheap at 36-31 because he's not very good anymore. 243, 323, 403, 8 homers, but those come in defiance of a lack of premium contact. He has at least basically doubled the barrel rate that he's put up over the last 2 years, but that's more because these rates were pathetic, and this one is just below average. He's just not very good anymore. But against the lefty, you can mix in some Nolan Arenado. There was at one point a lot of right-handed thunder in that bat. On the season, Nolan Arenado, I expect to see a bunch of success coming against lefties. Let's see. 2 of his 8 home runs. Only 224, 313, 379. Actually, not a lot of success at all against left-handed pitching this year. So that's working against him too. Nolan Arenado, just mostly shot. You probably saw the best stretch that we're going to see of him already this season. Any given slate, there is upside there, though. Illuminato Vargas, you certainly saw the best stretch of his entire career earlier this season. I hope you enjoyed it because he's already coming back down the mountain. 36 is still too expensive. 3,000 still definitely too expensive on FanDuel. Multi-position does get him into some lineups. He is low strikeout, could put a ball in play and find success from time to time, but he is nowhere near the player that people thought he was earlier this year. Jordan Lawler's cheap for the talent, up-and-coming prospect. 33 pretty good plate appearances so far this year. That's an interesting piece for the cheap price if you're choosing to go to this team. And then Tommy Troy, a right-handed mix and match piece at the bottom of the lineup. This goes Reed Detmers with a bullet at the top. Probably D-backs, Angels, Merrill Kelly. Let's see. D-backs ranking 19, 21, 19, 18. 20th by home run upside, despite being the 11th Vegas total. That's how much respect the model's giving to Reed Detmers right now. As I've said in the past about those Vegas totals, you're dealing with, there's this 4-3-3. So while that ranks 11th, it's technically like right in line with a lot of these different ones. And it's also just a little bit, it looks higher than it actually is because of all these lower mid 3 run totals that we've got today. So it's just a little bit misfit for what is in a vacuum, not a killer total. The hell are the Angels? There they are. Angels 9, 7, 10, 8. 8th by home run upside. Did I say Angels above the Diamondbacks? Because that's what I meant. Reed Detmers, Angels bats. Diamondbacks bats. I still don't really have much for Merrill Kelly here. At 69, again, that is a dart you can throw for value on DraftKings. He's in that list of bargain bin guys. He's here. But he was one of 2 guys, him and Kumar Rocker, where I was comparing it to the 55 that you pay on Robert Gasser against Cleveland with Noah Ramirez for similar type projection. These guys are slightly better, but that's an offset price by a significant enough amount that maybe it makes a difference. No real difference between the pitching talent. Holy hell, still 2 to go. 5-11. All right, think I can. Orioles. Mariners. This is that one that was showing a little bit of oddball power on the board at the beginning of the show. Damn it. Higashioka's not in the lineup? Son of a bitch. Well, take that off the board. That's why I don't like picking those guys that are who the hell are they playing? Tigers. No, that's the Astros. Twins, because it was Zebby. Let's see what we got. That sucks. Higashioka was my home run pick of the day. Loyalty Chisel. Loyalty Chisel split first with 16 people on a $5 home run contest on DK last night. 4 points. Used Kurtz, PCA, and Trout. Not bad. I don't know if you were here earlier, Chiz. You're in the lead with 3 correct picks. You only get 1 for the double down on Kurtz. It's just about the pick, not the total. Elias Diaz at the catcher spot, unfortunately, for the Rangers. So you lose your home run pick of the day, which sucks. Again, I wasn't sure Higgy was going to be in there, but I wanted to go off the board a little bit for you today. Diaz, not a bad catcher option, though. 2,500 on DK where you need the position hitting for a little bit of average. He's got 2 home runs. He's made some interesting contact. In previous seasons, little bit of the ability here and there to avoid the strikeout. Overall, not a great piece, but certainly as competitive for DFS value as Higgy might have been. Damn, I really wanted that one. Higgy would have hit a home run, too. I'm telling you. Maybe we get the pinch hit homer. No reason that he would pinch hit, but maybe he does. All right, neither of these lineups are in. So you're seeing some oddball power, but again, it's focused, right? It's on Taylor Ward, who this year so far doesn't even deserve that mark, but the model's got a fairly long memory. A little bit on Gunnar, a lot of it going to P.D. Alonso, Sammy Basayo drawing some for Colton Cowser. All of those are fair. Only 2 of those guys are above the 10 mark. Same thing on the other side with the Mariners. Only 2 guys above the 10 mark if we get Cal Raleigh. Everybody else, the home run hitters are appropriately ranked. It's just the averages and then coming off those big marks that are pushing these averages up slightly by comparison to a lot of the rest of the board that's making this game stand out somewhat for both teams for power. You can see where they're ranked. Seattle's here, but they're ranked 4th by home run upside. Baltimore's here, but they're ranked 2nd by home run upside. That defies everything about this ballpark, but not necessarily about the pitchers. Brandon Young, we don't have a big book on yet. He's allowed a little bit of premium contact. These are just a couple good home run hitters, and these couple of guys who hit the ball fairly hard. Same thing with Luke Raley and Dominic Canzone down here. So it supports a decent enough average. In the other direction, good as he is, Logan Gilbert does give up premium contact on a fly ball trajectory. He's got a 4+% home run rate, despite pitching to a 3.62 ERA, 3.68 xFIP, despite his tremendous stuff, his well above average across all 3+ categories, his ability to work deep into games, finding the strikeout, limiting the walks, finding a 13% swinging strike rate. All of this is who Logan Gilbert is. All that is very good. This is also, though, pretty much who Logan Gilbert is. Last year, good as he was, 3.74% home runs on a fair amount of premium contact on a significant fly ball trajectory. Year before that, 3.24 was a little bit better at limiting home runs, came on a little bit lighter of an average launch, similar exit velo and hard hit numbers. 3.24 is still not nothing, but that was his best season so far. Year before that, 3.77, right back to these levels. So in this year, plus 2 out of the last 3 before it, very targetable for the oddball home run. And in the one season that wasn't very targetable, he was at least given some up. So I believe in the Orioles' power numbers, but I also believe in where they're ranked on that stacks board, which was in the bottom third, because they're pulling a 3.43 implied total against a very good overall run limiter. So what you probably get, and part of that is Gilbert's ability to not give away the free pass. 108 whip against a 5.9% walk. There's just not a lot of guys on base. So it's one of those situations where, yeah, maybe they put one in the seats. Maybe Pete Alonso delivers on that 12.36, but it's probably going to be a solo shot, a less damage, 2-run homer. 93-92 for Logan Gilbert absolutely works from the top of the board on the mound. Fire away, love Logan Gilbert for the pitching shares today. Does limit the Orioles in the amount that I would want to get to them. I would take a look, honestly, at any stack that came up Orioles, and I'd at least make sure that I had 4 or 5 of the very good home run bats, because you're not likely to have a bunch of guys on base, so you're going to need multiple home runs for anything to pay off from the Orioles stack. Taylor Ward, with all the on-base skills, would be a good piece for correlated scoring. And again, the model's got a long memory, so a 10+ in the home run model, given all the homers we've seen him hit over the last few years, it's been diminished for that skill, but still a great piece for correlated scoring. Only 41-32 across sites in the outfield. That's very usable. Gunnar at short at 51-36, 14 homers. Little inconsistency showing for sure. 227, 297 on the front end of the slash line isn't anywhere near what we want, but that's a very good power bat. They could put one in the seats for sure against Logan Gilbert. Adley has had a very good year. 8 home runs, 265, 343, 481. Could give Gilbert fits in terms of finding his way to first base because he's low strikeout, pretty high walk. Gilbert, if he's working around the edges, not finding the swinging strike, might lose him. Not that that's necessarily in the cards because it's not Gilbert's game, but Adley can do that to a pitcher when he's going right. Solid premium contact events too this year. Pete Alonso, tons of barrels, tons of hard hits. Same thing with Sammy Vasallo at 12.8% barrels, 47.5% hard hits. Nice offset in price on both sides between those two bats. Obviously, Vasallo at the catcher spot, same position on FanDuel. You get the multiple catchers in this version of the lineup. Obviously, more of a conflict on DK, but considering that Alonso's a go-to there as well, you do have some back and forth positionally on FanDuel too. You want to get all 3 of those guys, and you just can't. 10 home runs in 215 plate appearances from Basayo. He's been tremendous, and a lot of it's very real. Leody Taveras, mix and match outfielder with some talent for filling categories, but not a prime go-to piece. Playing above his head a little bit right now. Colton Cowser, another thunderous bat, 2,500, 2,600, awfully cheap for a guy with a lot of power. 7 home runs in 171 otherwise pretty bad plate appearances last year. 16 homers and 14 steals in a bad season overall. Year before, 24 homers, 9 stolen bases in an okay season for the slash line in 561. If he was putting up those kind of numbers slash-wise, we wouldn't be complaining. The power is very real. That's all you really need here. Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holiday, solid pieces down lineup. Both guys currently below the Mendoza line, but there's a lot of talent there. Both guys double-digit barrel rates. Both guys above average hard hit rates, even while they're struggling. 48.7 for Mayo, 44.9 on Jackson Holiday. There is talent there. That is a 9-man Orioles lineup. Again, not entirely safe spot for Logan Gilbert. These Orioles have also been good at creating runs against righties this year. Oh, wait. I don't need to look it up. I got it right there. 112 WRC plus. That's for the full active roster. Over 1,867 plate appearances. A healthy run creation mark, though, against righties. So there are factors working against Logan Gilbert. And he hasn't been at peak Logan Gilbert form. He's just been good, not great. But he's got a great start in him, and this is a very pitcher-friendly park. Brendan Young at 73 at 86, 17% strikeouts, comes on a 10.3% swinging strike rate that gives us a little hope for more. Pitching to a 3.04 ERA, but a concerning 4.63, 4.65 xFIP in Sierra. We talked about the depth of start that he's provided recently. He's pitched into the 7th in 4 straight starts. A lot of upside toward the quality start. Pitcher-friendly park is working in his favor, but I think some of the potential for overperformance is showing in those 2 home run marks. Some of the other guys in this lineup showing a little bit of power. Not surprising at all if the Mariners go off a little bit today. 4+ implied total. Not one of the best marks on the board, but certainly not one of the worst on this slate. Cole Young in the projected leadoff spot. Cheap in the infield. Mix and match piece. 323 on base is okay as a table setter. We'll see how usable he is. He's fine. 99 WRC plus isn't special, but does have a considerable 330 xWOBA lurking under that bad 307 actual. Julio Rodriguez is Julio Rodriguez. You don't mess with that play. If you're going to this team, you're putting him in your lineup more often than not. 13 homers, 9 steals. If you get Cal Raleigh back, fire away. 7 home runs in an otherwise totally poor start to his season. Took the injury, just finding his way back if he's in the lineup at all. But we know what that power looks like. He hit 60 home runs last year? 60 home runs last year in 705 chances. We're not going to hit that total this year, but I like him to hit his way to working off of 7.5 a season. 25 at least. I like a big second half coming from Cal Raleigh. Josh Naylor, 25 might have been much. Call it 22.5. Josh Naylor, solid mixer, 49-32, way more talented than the slash line this year. 8 home runs, 13 steals is decent for counting stats. 323 xWOBA under the 305 actual shows you a little bit of the underperformance. Was just really good last year. 295, 353, 462, 20 homers, 30 steals. That is a good option at first base, and those are good prices for him. Randy Rosarena, very playable in the outfield, been their best player all season long. 7 home runs, 19 steals, a lot of premium contact events. The prices are a little bit uncomfortable, but everybody else in the lineup is affordable to cheap, so it makes it work. And then you get discounts on Luke Raley and Dominic Canzone and all their power from the left side. Both those players have 16+% barrel rates, excellent upper 40s% hard hit rates. Those are good bats from the left side to throw against a middling righty. Really like the upside for power there. 14 homers, 10 home runs for Luke Raley and Dom Canzone. Miles Mastroboni, just a mixer. Colt Emerson, premium prospect for this organization, who has hit 6 home runs in 84 opportunities in his first action in the show. Imagine what he's going to do when he starts actually finding barrels and hard hits consistently. Kid's good. Kid's got tons of upside. Remains cheap at $4,000 with third base eligibility on DK. 31, same deal on FanDuel. This is a good Mariners lineup. I don't... Given the upside for 7 innings, I don't really have an issue with the Brendan Young projection. I think he's a better piece at 73 on DraftKings than he is at 86 on FanDuel, but he's got a path toward a quality start, very pitcher-friendly park. Honestly, the output that the Mariners have had throughout much of the season is pitcher-friendly as well. So wouldn't take Brendan Young down a peg. I left him alone. I had a fair debate with myself about whether I should put my thumb on that and bring him down to 25, 26 FanDuel points. 12.5 DraftKings points, 11 and change. I didn't do it. I have enough faith. He's been good. Good locator. Pitching plus is all right. He's not a big strikeout pitcher, but he could rack up 5 or 6 against this team. 24.3% for this projected version of the Mariners lineup. So there are a few Ks on deck, especially if he pitches into the 7th inning again. He just finds the total. I think he's reasonable. I don't love it at that price. I like it a lot at that price. Gilbert, Young on DraftKings, Young on FanDuel, Mariners bats, Orioles bats bringing up the bottom. Last game up. Cal Raleigh was 2,700. Did I miss that? Let me go back. Where are you seeing? Oh, there he is. Yeah, 27 on FanDuel. All right. Yeah, that's tasty. Good call, Meach. I was looking at the DK price, I think, when I was talking about him. 44 is also uniquely cheap for Cal Raleigh. It's in line with probably where he finished out before he got hurt price-wise because he was really scuffling there. But if he comes back anything like the guy that we saw last year, yeah, that's a tremendous bargain. 44 where you need the position, 27 when you don't. I don't love sacrificing Josh Naylor to get Cal Raleigh, but for 500 less, I would have no issues doing that. And you can obviously take them both. Man, this is a playable lineup. Like just those three. And then like you can offset price. No, not really price, but good third base option down there. I think my go-to there would be Dom Canzone for a little cheaper though to round that out. That's a 3,050, so 31 apiece, 12-2 on the 4-man total. And it gives you Julio, Cal, Josh, and Dom Canzone. Major upside for premium contact, major upside for power from that lineup. That's a great little combination. Yeah, again, Mariners very much in play at 4.15 implied against this pitcher. But I like the looks of him at that DraftKings price, and he's found it a little bit. This is a pitcher-friendly situation. Again, last game up, Rays, low total, 367 going up against Justin Robleski. I know I'm not doing that right, but whatever. The pitcher is 15.3% strikeout, not very good. 5.4% walk, not at all problematic. You can see it leads to a 9.8 strikeout minus walk. There is contact available against Robleski. 2.95 ERA is very good, but a 4.58 xFIP, 4.67 Sierra, probably the more realistic numbers. I think we see him finish around a 4 ERA is not going to be surprising at all. Below average stuff across the board, but a good locator, good pitcher overall. 94.5 rating by Stuff Plus, but you can see monster in terms of the location, in terms of pitching plus. Makes it work. He's been allowing a little bit of contact, 42.7 and 90 miles an hour over the line there on a fly ball trajectory, but it's not come all at the same time. So he's limiting launch and exit velo in combination with one another. You're getting one or the other, resulting in a 2.03% home run. Don't be shocked if that goes up along with the ERA, though. That would be where a lot of it probably comes from. The Rays, outside of Junior, not exactly positioned to take advantage of anything premium contact-wise. He's carrying an 11.34 on the home run model and was 8+% after being 10+% for a home run in FanGraphs Game Sims yesterday. Didn't come through yesterday. I would love to go back to the well. He's hit 15 on the year. Tremendous home run hitter, tremendous power bat from the right side against this lefty. That's a go-to spot. You've got good players in Johnny Diaz and Jonathan Aranda ahead of him in this projected lineup. Aranda's lefty. We'll see whether he hits in the 2 spot or dips down the lineup against the lefty. Johnny will be in that leadoff spot. He gets on at a 392 clip. Fantastic for correlated scoring. A good producer of fantasy points all on his own. 12 home runs on the season. Hits the ball very hard. Aranda hits the ball very squarely as well. Also getting on base at a tremendous clip. 380 on base for him. 11 home runs from the left side. Ryan Valade, good speed, 361 on base, should continue to defy xFIP given his speed, 363, xFIP, xWOBA. This is where we get toward the end of the show. 320 xWOBA on the season, but a 363 actual. He's one of these elite sprint speed guys, like we talked about the other day. So just the ability to put the ball in play where somebody else might not be able to beat it to first base, he can. So you can defy xWOBA a little bit that way. Overall, mostly a contact-oriented hitter, probably miscast in the cleanup role, and no big bats behind him to really set the table for. So I don't like that in that spot, but you've just got the elite nature of Yandy Diaz. You're not moving him out of the leadoff role, and you're not hitting Valade second or third. So it doesn't really fit there. I guess you could maybe compromise, slide him to the 3 spot. If you're moving out on the down, hit him clean up against this lefty. Maybe that works out. Williamson, mix and match guy. Austin Slater, mix and match guy with upside against any lefty in a historical sense. Not so much so far this year. Chandler Simpson been mostly lost at the plate, only 14 steals over 267 chances. It's a player I expected a lot from in terms of just being on base. Certainly expected him to defy xWOBA. In a way, he actually is, because his xWOBA is 253 and his actual is 277. Both those numbers are tragic. Nick Fortes, mix and match catcher for very cheap. Taylor Wall's not all that good, but a cheap option in the middle infield. If you're rostering Rays, you're really playing in those top 4, though. On the Dodgers side, diminished total for being the Dodgers, 4.42 against one of the better pitchers on the slate, Drew Rasmussen. A pretty elite looking 27.3% strikeout against a 4.6% walk. Again, we're looking for 20 or so to make you an ace in strikeout minus walk, the most simplistic possible category. That's actually a really good indicator. 22.7 so far this year. He's been killing it. Absolutely elite stuff across a bevy of pitches. Tremendous across all 4 of the plus ratings. Stuff Plus, as good as it is, actually his lowest end mark among those 3. 10.9% swinging strike rate, 2.71 ERA with a near matching 2.84 xFIP, only slightly higher 3.0 Sierra, dramatically sub 1 whip. Few pitchers have been better than Drew Rasmussen this year, and he's been spectacular in inducing weak and medium contact. He's wreaking havoc on the home run numbers for everybody not named Shohei Ohtani. Even Ohtani, that's a more mortal number than you might normally see. Going down, so all that is to say, Drew Rasmussen, 8,800 on DraftKings. Tremendous piece. Even against the Dodgers, you definitely can use that. 10-4 on FanDuel. My hope would be that he comes up a little lighter on, because that's a big price to pay. Even on a good day, a lot of probability that the Dodgers hang at least 3 runs on him and bend that number. You would need him to get the quality start for you. You cannot give up that 4th run here. So playing with a little fire at the FanDuel price, but he's good enough to get you there. Rays bats, limited option. Dodgers bats, we'll go down that list. Shohei Ohtani, 65-45. That's Shohei Ohtani. I think you know to play him at any price. Andy Paez has more than earned that salary, 52-37. You could argue that it's a little bit cheap, but they got to let you roster somebody from this team. 15 homers, 7 steals, 121 WRC plus. Freddie Freeman's just been one of the best first basemen in baseball for about a generation now. So fire away with that piece. 11 home runs and elite 365 on base, 379 xWOB. It tells us he's got a little bit more to give. Major source of premium contact. Mookie Betts, 9.1% barrel in limited action so far. 7 home runs on the board. Has squared the ball up nicely. 332 xWOBA hiding under that ugly 284 actual. We know Mookie's eventually going back up to that mark. 46 works. 31 works even better at shortstop. No issues with the positioning. Max Muncy, 48-33, one of our favorite 3 true outcomes hitters. 16 homers on the season. Love the upside for Max to do some scoring if this team gets to Drew Rasmussen. 16.5% barrels, 48.1% hard hits, 12.9% walk, 373 on base. Not many better hit 3 true outcomes guys than Max Muncy. Kyle Tucker really struggling to earn his money. 6 homers, 6 steals, 337 on base are the good talking points. We'll focus on those. 106 WRC plus, despite the struggles, has been an above average run creator because it doesn't really strike out, even though it's up 5 or 6 points year over year. Draws a fair amount of walks, even though it's down 2 or 3 points year over year. Eventually, Kyle Tucker's going to figure it out, guys. Tommy Edman, solid mixer at 34-28. If he's back in the lineup, that's a good middle infield piece. Second base eligible on DraftKings. 4 positions on FanDuel. Edman found some success last year. 13 homers and a little outlier for power. Had a 321 xWOBA, but it's just right around league average, but was way better than his 284 actual. Year before, kind of struggled his way through 153 plate appearances. Going back in time, though, he's been a good table setter with medium power, good speed, never fantastic at getting to first base, but found enough through BABIP, found his way to first base, and had enough individual upside that he was a very usable DFS piece and a guy who was a big success in leadoff spots from time to time. It was limited stretches, and then he'd dip and they'd move him out. Ryan Ward, a lot of power upside from the left side, 11% barrel, 3 home runs and 43 plate appearances in the show so far, and plenty of expectation for more. And then Chucky Robinson is here at the dead mid price to close out the show. Not Churchy Robinson, Chucky Robinson. I won't say the other name I typed. I accidentally typed Churchy as I was looking up Chucky, and then I went in and I took the H off, and I accidentally typed in Cucky Robinson. Not a nice thing to call somebody. Not a nice thing to call Chucky. Certainly not his name. He did come up in that search, though. Chucky is 31 years old, 31 and a half, technically, if we're being children about it. Minor leagues, certainly a quad A player. 260, 321, and 442 with 2 home runs and 84 plate appearances this year as a 31-year-old at AAA. 4 home runs and 205 plate appearances as a 30-year-old in AAA last year. Decent enough slash line, 254, 337, 348, but more, you might get a base hit out of the guy. You might get a walk out of the guy and a piece of correlated scoring, but it wouldn't be anything really more than happenstance. This is no Crash Davis. So mix and match catcher. He is the dead min price in the Dodgers lineup. That alone gives him a little bit of utility where you need the position if he's in the lineup. That would let you go 1, 2 for Mookie, 3 for Muncy. Let's see what happens with Shohei in there. Obviously, we can do better price-wise. It's a catcher, third base, shortstop. Probably first base if I'm doing that. Fill out all my infield, maybe. You could go real cheap and actually fill out all your infield around Edman there at second. Now I'm paying only $42.60 a piece, so $4,300, $21.3 total for a stack that does include Ohtani, Mookie, Muncy, Tommy Edman, and Chucky Robinson from the bottom is just mid-price. Even if he does nothing, just the access point is fine. If you went, let's say, Freddie, at 52 to bring it up a little bit. That becomes 46.20. It's obviously less manageable there. So you probably do need the second very cheap price, but you've got Edman. You've got Ryan Ward to work with. So yeah, that can help you average down the price pretty significantly. And then honestly, he could get hit by a pitch and be perfectly fine price-wise for the affordability that he creates within that Dodgers stack. Drew Rasmussen, again, the talking point here, though. I think he's the most interesting piece of this game, and I'm going to say Drew Rasmussen, followed by Dodgers bats, followed by probably Justin Robliski, and bringing up the bottom, the Rays bats. Whew, that was a lot of talking, gang. 12 games, 3 hours. What are you going to do? 5:30, a lot of time left to get things together before lock. There's your pitching board one last time. We've gone through it numerous times already. Which one, Meach? The Mariner stack you talking about? Not sure which stack Meach was talking about 10 minutes ago. Beyond the Rabbit Hole likes the looks of that From Revenge game. I don't think it or care at all about the idea of revenge. And, I know it's a fun narrative to talk about, and that's what you're doing, Rabbit Hole, because you know your stuff. But, I just like the looks of Framber Valdez at that cheap of a price on basically any given slate. That's a guy I've got a lot of built-up trust over the years. Erratic as he's been this year, when he's going right, limits power, limits runs, finds a fair amount of strikeouts, and pitches deep into games. It's everything you could want for the 7,000s price tags that he comes in at. You can see he's only here on your board, though. Not exactly killing it up the board. So I think just a very good piece of value on either site today. Brendan Young, you got to have a little bit of belief that he can give you another 7-inning performance at that 73 on DraftKings. I don't love it at 86 on FanDuel. I'd rather have many of the pieces around him. Zebby climbing up the board here, but it's a shallow board in terms of those projections. 26, you'd usually be down in this territory. Know that Zebby comes with a bit of ceiling, but a very visible, immense basement that he's probably going to fall into. I like the Rangers bats better than I like Zebby, despite where he lands on this board by comparison. 8,000 kind of works, but again, I like other pitchers around him at better pricing. Certainly like Framber better for 300 less. A lot of faith, a lot of ability. Pitching really, really well. 10-2 is a little bit bumpy against the New York Yankees, even this diminished version in Yankee Stadium. That could go sideways in an awful hurry, but Davis Martin's been excellent this year. 9,000, no issues on DK. Love that option. My hope is, again, that by comparison to these three guys, maybe Reed Detmer's at price slips a little bit with people thinking that Arizona's really good, hitting conditions out there, et cetera, et cetera. Like that option quite a bit. Michael King, no real faith, but those are okay prices for an okay pitcher. Hunter Brown is concerningly overpriced. If you haven't been here for the rest of the show, know that Hunter Brown, I think that's around your mean and your ceiling today, because I don't think you're getting more than 5, even if he pitches well. He does have the ability to put more ceiling on it because he's so good at striking hitters out. So he could give you a good strikeout total in only 5 innings, but if he gives 3 runs back in exchange, you're burnt at those prices, especially where you need the quality start. Playable, bumpy, super playable, very playable, but dangerous. 88 works better than 10-4 does, but would fire that Rasmussen chair on either side. Playable. Granholm's playable, but Giants bat's been a little bit better, getting more interesting. In no way is Granholm safe. He projects below 25, below 12.5. Playing with fire, as bad as Eddie Cabrera's been, but could carve a path through that Rockies team. Merrill Kelly's been the opposite of reliable, unreliable this season. Lurking power in the Angels lineup. Every now and then you can pick that spot off, though, for cheap value. Same deal with Kumar Rocker. No trust whatsoever, but a low enough price. Again, these two guys are my bargain bin comparison point to Robert Gasser for 1,000 less at a similar projection against the super gettable version of the Guardians. I don't think very much of Gasser's talent level, but when you're just talking about everybody from here down, I think the conversation is Kelly, Rocker, Gasser, and then maybe a more expensive Andre Palante if you can happen to afford him. I don't think there's enough innings on Kodai Senga. Unreliable guy in a bad pitcher park anyway. Don't really have any faith in Ciccone to do anything, and everybody down here is in danger of a bad day. Yeah, Lar, I'm with you. I think it kind of works with that Gasser price as long as we're talking DK. 55, sure. Even if he goes 5 at that price, even if he gives up a couple of runs to some low strikeout sequencing types, there's not a lot of danger in that Guardians lineup. 5 innings of okay performance out of Gasser could do damage at 55, especially on a day where it's, light to more expensive in the bargain bin. Not a lot of tremendous bargain options. A lot of SP2s that are, floating into the medium price range, the upper medium type levels. And again, no guarantees on Brandon Young from up there. I didn't want to influence it. Great pitcher Park, gettable Mariners team. He's been going 7. But I'm calling that out one last time to end the show because I don't really have a lot of faith that he's going to continue. But yeah, it's there. That said, guys, good show. Fun time talking through 3 hours about all these games. I think this is a fascinating slate with this group of pitchers and these prices and just the way this one's coming together. I was really looking forward to this show, and I can pat myself on the back. I thought we nailed it. Let's see how we do once the games actually get played. With that in mind, guys, good luck out there tonight. Before I do the sign-off, let me go back one more time to the home run picks contest. In moments after I end this show, just wait, reload the page, leave a comment on the video. You can just comment and not make a home run pick, but if you make a home run pick, you enter into the contest totally free. Winner first to 5 gets a free month of rotoscouts. You can use it now. You can use it in the fall when football's back, multi-sports are back. Right now, Loyalty Chisel's already got 3 on the board. You got to watch out. He's in danger of running away with this thing. Cujo at 2, Larry C at 1. Nobody else has gotten one right yet, despite a bunch of picks. Leave your home run pick of the day. You can't use my pick of the day, which is good because he's not in the lineup. That was Kyle Higashioka. So unfortunate loss for me. You got to use the same YouTube handle from my just to help me out every single day. 1 pick per person per day has to come from the slate we talk about on the show, only on days where there is a show. That's it. Multi-day contest, et cetera, et cetera. Go get them, gang. So good luck out there tonight, guys. Somebody go win something. Share the results when you do at rotoscouts on Twitter or in the free premium Discords that's linked in the description for the video down there. Hit the like button on your way to that. Subscribe to the channel if you want to. We will be back to talk more baseball on a Wednesday tomorrow. See you, gang.